Hey everybody, what's going on? If you noticed, I had a new little intro. I thought it was a new year, and Tom's been bugging me to do a new intro. I like our other one, but one other reason is because for some reason, the music that I used in the background, somebody, even though I got it off a free music site, has started claiming it as copyright. So I'm not allowed to monetize any of these because they're claiming copyright on that music. So I figured, well, I'll just make a new intro anyway.
There's a new music,
like with different music and stuff like that. So and I wanted to make it a little bit shorter. But like I said, if you like the other one better, I can just go back to it and just change the music out. I mean, I can do that easily too. But I just
you want to be able to monetize.
I changed the music out. I can go back to the old one, but change the music out. That's what I'm saying. If you like the old one better, this one I just made like really quick.
Yeah, so it can be monetized then.
It should be. I mean, like I said, I got this music off again, like a site that's
said it was free.
Copyright free.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean. But like I said,
it must be a problem with their AI.
Well, I think
that's not a human that's doing.
Well, no, I think what happens is that a lot of sites that have free music for YouTube videos, I think sometimes people steal music and upload it as theirs, and say, "Hey, it's free, I own it," and then somebody's like, "No, that's mine," and they kind of come and claim it. But I think sometimes people just claim it because they can't claim it. You know what I mean? I don't know what happened. So I was just like, whatever. We've had that other one for 3 years, and like I said, I like the visuals, but if I put it back up, I'll just change the music. You know what I mean?
Now, does that mean all the old videos are now demonetized?
No, it only just started like a couple weeks ago, or a couple months ago. It started claiming, as far as I know, all the old ones are still monetized, and the other episodes are still monetized, all the other ones. It's just the regular ones with the 13 o'clock. So yeah, so it's Wednesday, as we know, and finally, we're getting, after a couple weeks where we didn't do true crime, we did Simpsons and some other stuff, we're finally getting back to true crime, my favorite, and this shit right here, I don't even remember if one of y'all recommended it, or if I just found it, when I was searching through some stuff. This shit is crazy, and it's I don't know why it's not better known. Because this is, in case you did not know, the deadliest mass murder at a school in U.S. history.
Yeah, you thought it would be recent. No.
Worse than Columbine, worse than all of those. And I'm not saying those aren't bad. Obviously they are.
You're probably in body count.
But as far as, sadly, body count goes, this one's the worst one, and it happened in 1927. And I feel like it's not really that well known outside of it happened in Michigan, and I kind of feel like it's not that. There's a little museum there, in the town. It's a fairly small town where it happened. And there's a museum there. I was watching a thing where they interviewed the curator or whatever, and she was talking about it. And she actually knew her dad had actually survived it. Yeah. Some people did survive. But the sad thing about it is that almost all of the victims were children, obviously, because it was a school between 2nd grade and 6th grade.
Yeah. I think it's funny how modern people today think that violence is a new thing of the modern age. No, man, it's less violent than it ever was. Fucking.
Well, that's why I say, I said, it's always bad, but it's just kind of horrible shit happened back then, too.
There was shit happening in the 1600s, the 1700s.
There was horrific
whole
shit
fucking
happened.
Towns being massacred, Indian massacres and shit. Hundreds of people, wiped out. Men, women, children. And just kind of forgotten about, because it was a long time ago. But no, it was always violent here.
Yeah,
always.
I mean, pretty much, yeah.
And I think probably the high point of just weird, perverse, modern violence, I think for the United States was 1970s. Fucking it. I don't know if it was the leaded gasoline or what, but I think 1970s was the weirdest decade for violence. Serial killer shit, fucking weird sexual stuff, and lots of shootings.
This guy here, this shit, like I said, is crazy because this guy is legit a monster. The guy that did this. 45 people died, including him, although he doesn't really count. And 58 people were injured. Like I said, I think 39 of those were children. between 2nd grade and 6th grade. That's like about 7 years old to 12 years old, roughly, if you're not from here. Some people did survive, and actually it could have been much worse, but some of the shit didn't work out the way he wanted. But this dude is like the poster boy for one of those guys where some bad shit happens in his life, and suddenly it's everybody else's fault, and he's gonna take everybody out for revenge. Even people that had absolutely fuck all to do with what his problem was.
Yeah, he was a fuck the world dude.
Yeah, he was one of those watch the world burn motherfuckers. And he was really cold and calculating about it. And they're not entirely sure how long he'd been planning this, but they're like, it was at least 9 months, if not a year. So he wasn't crazy. He wasn't, I mean, they called him a maniac, like in all the papers at the time. But this was a meticulous, cold-blooded, very well planned, and very well executed attack. Multiple attack, actually, because it was, you know, spoiler alert, it was a bunch of bombings. And he had them in multiple places.
That doesn't mean he wasn't a maniac, though.
Well, I mean,
like
he wasn't like a drooling, like crazy. Like he sat there and like planned all this.
We
shit
had a
out
guy here
for a long time.
Had a guy here in the U.S. that built a custom-made tank out of a fucking bulldozer.
Yeah, there was a documentary. About
a whole documentary.
I think we reviewed it.
He tore the whole fucking town down, and because he believed that people were after him and they had fucked him over, and they didn't. But in his mind, he thought they were plotting against him.
The same kind of shit here.
Yeah.
Same kind of shit.
He built a fucking tank out of a fucking bulldozer. It had fucking armored fucking viewports with fucking cameras, so he could control it. I don't think it had any guns on it, did it?
I don't remember.
But he would just tear buildings down. I don't think he killed anybody though, did he?
Now I can't remember. Like I said, I saw
he killed anybody. Yeah, he just tore the whole town down. All of his enemies.
This is, like I said, this is definitely a type. You see this a lot, like, you know, modern mass shooters and things like that, where, like I said, they have some hardships in their life, and suddenly the world is out to get them. Even though other people have those hardships too, and they don't react that way. But suddenly he's a victim, and, you know, everybody's out to get him, and he's gonna get back at the fucking world.
It's like a persecution thing.
Yeah, so he was definitely a motherfucker like that.
Yeah.
Camp Guy said, I think this dude had some type of technical training in electricity or building contracting. Yeah, I think he was, he had gone to college as for electrical engineer. I'm not entirely sure if he graduated or not, but he did he was a handyman and tinkerer, and he did a lot of electrical kind of shit. He said, didn't he kill his wife or somebody before he went to the second location? Yes, he did. We'll get into that too. So yeah, this dude's fucking special. I mean, like I said, it's ooh, and like I said, I can't fucking believe that this isn't better known just because it was like the worst. Well, they think that maybe there's two reasons they think that it probably got. I don't know if it's not completely forgotten, but not a lot of people outside of Michigan have heard about it. It's not like in the common like big thing about true crime, because I kind of feel like some crimes that happened in the 20s and like way back then, like early 20th century, like the Villisca axe murders and stuff like that, like everybody knows that. But this one, for some reason, just got sort of swept under the rug. And they think maybe it's because, one, so many people died in that town that it's like, you know, some of the survivors and stuff, it's like nobody fucking talked about it. Like nobody wanted to talk about it.
Too traumatized.
Because it was too fucking horrible. And they didn't want to talk about it. Like, you know, like half the kids in the town were killed.
Yeah.
Like every family had something affected. Also, I will note that 2 days after it happened, Charles Lindbergh did the transatlantic flight, and that was in all the papers, and it kind of pushed it off the headline.
27, there was no mass national media to speak of either. It would have been local radio stations. 27.
Yeah.
Local radio stations, mostly in local newspapers. You did have some nationwide stuff, but I don't know what the reach was. And what was weird about a lot of times, sometimes back in the olden days, that's kind of a generalization. If a crime was real appalling, they would tone it down and they would hide it. That was like a weird thing too that they would do. they like wouldn't talk about them.
Yeah.
They would just be real vague. You know, yeah, we found a dead woman. We don't know what that was all about. And then they would just leave it at that.
Yeah.
So might have been
They
some
didn't want
shit
to
like
upset
that.
people, I guess.
They didn't want to like fuck up people's calm, worry the public. They didn't want to mass public panic.
Sometimes the public should worry.
Yeah.
If somebody like this is running around.
Well, in the modern era, they do it for political gain. You know what I mean? You panic the people to get certain people elected. You know, whoever has the most money. But in this day and age, it was, you know, pre-World War II. They didn't think like that. Modern propaganda hadn't really come into creation yet.
Well, the thing about it too is that they didn't really have the framework that they have in the modern day to talk about trauma. You know what I mean? They didn't really. People didn't go to therapists. People didn't.
They didn't know what mental illness was.
Yeah,
really.
bad shit happened to you, and you just kind of just crammed it down and didn't talk about it. Nobody talked about it, and that's what, like, I saw, like, some interviews, like I said, with people that survived or had, you know, relatives that were killed in this, and they were just like, no one would talk about it. Like, they would ask, like, they would kind of know about it if they lived in the area, but they would ask, like, their dad or whatever. It's like, hey, what was that about? He's like, I don't want to talk about it. They just wouldn't talk about it. That was very common of that era. Like, they wouldn't talk about shit like that. They didn't talk about the feelings, or they didn't, which that's not good when you kind of just.
So it was bombings.
Yes.
Okay.
Explosives.
No guns.
Lots
no
and
blades.
Lots of explosives.
All right.
Lots of explosives. I think it was like 1,000 pounds of explosives.
Wow.
This dude, he was busy, is what I'm saying.
So he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I said, this is fucking crazy, and I'm surprised it's like not better now. There are a couple of YouTube videos out about it.
Well, that kind of leads to when in the modern era, bombings sometimes are kept quiet because that's a federal level investigation, and bomb threats are kept quiet to this day. Now nowadays in the modern era with the terrorism, they might want to play up a bomb threat too to get something they want out of the public. You know, the authorities get something out of it. But I remember, you know, reading about, you know, old training manuals because, you know, I was kind of involved in fucking post-blast investigation and stuff, and for a company that I once worked with. And some of the older training that was out there was to keep bombings quiet. You know what I mean? Because they were under federal investigation. They didn't want people to know that they'd even happened because that could cause more bombings.
Yeah.
And I think they were even some of those mass shootings. I think the feds had recommended to the local authority, to the national media, to not talk about that on the news, because it would just cause another one, like a copycat. So, you know, I don't know. Should you tell people or shouldn't you? You know?
Well, there's like, I feel like there's a debate about it because I remember like some people saying, well, they kind of wanted to not downplay serial killer shit. Like, obviously they have to warn people if there's like a danger, but they don't want to make too much out of it because it'll cause another one, or they're giving the serial killer what he wants, which is like attention. And so they're like, you know, should we do that? Should we give him a cute nickname? So they've really started to not give them like sexy nicknames like they used to in the 70s.
Same thing with all those school shootings. If you talk about them, you'll create more of them because a kid can go, oh, well, I'll just do what that other kid did. I'll be on the news. Everyone will feel sorry for me. You know, they're picking on me. So I think it's probably better. But how can you keep a lid on that in the modern era?
Then people will be like, yeah, that's what I mean. There's just no way.
There's no way. Not in the modern era with fucking cell phones and shit.
Man, I swear I always have like a phantom hair on stuck in my
But, you know, now you end up basically monetizing murder. You know what I mean? It's like I'll get millions of hits, millions of views. Because some of those dudes, and I've seen some of the footage, some of those fucking shooters. One dude went into a mosque down in, what was that little island? What's that little island? It's not Australia. That's a big island. New Zealand, yeah. He went in there and shot everybody up. And he was piling them up all in the corner and everything. Bah, 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 bah. And he was live streaming it. And he posted it on, what was the name? 8chan. Or 4chan or 8chan. And it was up there for a long time. I watched it. Yeah, and he was talking to people while he was live streaming it. Bizarre. But, you know, I think millions of people saw it, which would encourage another offender to do that. But how you stop it in a modern world?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's just no way. I don't think
Yeah.
there's any way to stop it.
No, it's out. The genie's out of the bottle.
Yeah, there's just no way.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can say something like we've done shows about like mass shooters like Elliot Rodger and stuff like that. And sadly, there's like some very mentally ill fucking people out there who see him as a hero, and there's just like a whole thing like Saint Elliot Rodger and all this other kind of crap. And it's just kind of like
Saint Elliot. Well,
I mean, you can't stop that.
Yeah,
I mean, as much as you might want to.
Although I looked at that phenomenon, and 90% of that shit was trolling. You know what I mean? They knew that he was a fucking douche. They just were just like going along with, he's a saint. You know what I mean? Fucking, I think they were just one upping each other, glorifying this guy. But it was a troll. I don't think most of those dudes actually believed that. Who were saying that about
them probably did.
Well, another dude like him another dude like Elliot Rodgers would believe it.
That's what I mean, because there have been other shooters that.
I think they were just being ironic.
I wouldn't say that. That might be most of them.
This shit was too funny. It couldn't have been serious. It was just too fucking funny. It was too funny. It was too over the top. I mean, that dude was a loser.
Well, yeah.
Oh man.
Gramther says Bath, Michigan, where this took place, is half an hour west from where Gramther and Steve live. And he said only people in mid-Michigan kind of know about this. Yeah, I kind of feel like I said, it's gotten a little bit of traction. There is some stuff about it on YouTube. But weirdly, like some of the documentaries about it, like a lot of the comments underneath it were like, man, I've lived in Michigan my whole life and I've never heard of this. And I'm 60 years old or whatever the fuck. So it's not that commonly known, even though it's the worst school massacre in U.S. history, which is
and it's done with bombings.
Yeah, weird. And it was bombings. And
I wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's fucking crazy. Let me see. I got like way behind on the stuff. Okay, and then Camp Guy recommended the Mark Barton, the Atlanta office killer. Yeah, I think I vaguely remember that, but I wrote it down. I'll put it in the topic list, and I'll put it in one of the things. Okay, so before we get into the topic, Linwood Sly has a question
what's
for
up,
you.
Sly?
I was diagnosed with high blood pressure. My doc recommended hydrocortisone, HTC. What do you say?
All right. Well, I don't know what your statistics are like how tall you are and what your weight is. If you lose weight, your blood pressure always improves. Being on test will help you lose weight so your blood pressure gets better. All my shit fucking dropped. I can be just totally jacked up on fucking steroids and have normal blood pressure. And I didn't have it before. All right. And if you look at the books, it'll say, oh no, steroids will raise your blood pressure. Yeah, but then it does for a while, but I've been on them for years. Your body just kind of adapts to a new normal. So I don't have a lot of the side effects other people have because over time I just adapted to them. I don't know much about high blood pressure because I didn't have it long enough, or it didn't. My blood pressure, even when it was high, wasn't high enough to really treat it with any medicine. I would just say get on test, lose fat, get in the gym, start slow, take maybe a diuretic, piss out some water. That'll probably lower your blood pressure. If your blood pressure goes up a little bit on test, could be because you're making a bunch of red blood cells. But just hang with it. Don't let it get real high. And then eventually come down over the months. You know, that's how it worked with me. But everybody's different, and I'm younger than you. Although I don't think that makes a difference. I've seen old dudes do amazing things on this shit. Go on test. That's what I would do. And you're still taking them damn little DEHA pills and the fucking what was that shit? Pregnolone? No, I forgot what that shit was called. I take that shit too. Those little over-the-counter hormones, they're good too. Notice a little bit of difference. I don't know if you're seeing any difference with them, but if you're seeing a difference with that, man, go on test. You know, just 200 milligram. You see a big difference.
CB says, Jenny, I went to Tesco after work today, and Tabby Cat was working around the store. Like, working? Did he have, like, a little apron on and was, like, pricing stuff? I guess walking around the store. Yeah, a lot of stores have little cats, like, living in there, which I think is kind of sweet. All right, so let's get into this topic, because it's fucking fascinating and crazy. And this dude, like I said, is a fucking monster. So this place where this happened is called Bath Township. I don't know if it's still called that or if it's just called Bath. And it's about 10 miles northeast of Lansing in Michigan. Now, in the early part of the 20th century, this was a largely agricultural area. It was mostly farms. And also, and this was not just in Michigan, but like around the country, schools back then were largely one-room schoolhouses. Like, it was pretty much like there was a whole bunch of them, like, scattered around. And all the kids, no matter what age or grade they were, would come and get taught at the same time. You know what I mean? Just like Little House on the Prairie, if you remember that TV show. Or the books, I guess. So, but by the time the 20s came around, they were thinking that it would probably be better to kind of pool all their resources in one region and build, like, bigger schools so the kids could be divided by grade, like they would learn better, you know what I mean? Like schools that are modern, like we have them now. So in 1922, in Bath Township, the voters voted to form a district, and they were all going to, like I said, pool their resources. I think it was like 2 or 3 different townships, like in this area, and they were all going to put their tax money together and build one big consolidated school that all the kids in the area could, like, walk to or, you know, be driven to or whatever. Now, because that this law had passed, they were going to raise property taxes to pay for the school, like, as one does, you know what I mean? You got to get the money from somewhere. So some new taxes were put on the landowners in the area, and one of these landowners was Andrew Kehoe. Spoiler alert, he was not happy about it, which we will get to in a bit. So who the fuck is this guy? So he is actually from Michigan. He was from Tecumseh, Michigan. And he came from a family of 13 children. Now, his mom died when he was a kid, and his dad, you know, married someone else. And by all accounts, him and his mother did not get along. Now listen to this horrifying shit. So when Andrew Kehoe was 14 years old, the stepmom was attempting to light the stove, and it exploded. No one's sure if it was an accident or not. I kind of suspect not. So she was essentially set on fire. Andrew saw it happen and just stood there watching her burning. And then, after a few minutes, after she was all fucked up, he dumped a bucket of water on her. And then called and said, oh yeah, like, she fucking, the stove exploded.
He may have set his mom on fire.
Allegedly. It was his stepmom.
Oh, it was his stepmom, yeah.
Yeah.
Might not have liked her.
They're not sure because, like I said, at the time, they were just like, oh, it was an accident because, you know, fucking shit, stoves were dangerous back then, and they did explode from time to time.
How old was he?
He was 14.
That's still old enough to know how to rig something up. He
might
have made a leak.
And
they couldn't find a leak on it, huh?
Well, yeah, like I said, he wasn't charged or anything like that, and really they didn't... I think this was kind of a thing that after what he did later, you know, people looked back and said, oh, maybe that wasn't like an accident after all. Like, maybe he did that on purpose because it's kind of like what he did to later on. You know what I mean? So he graduated high school, and then he went to Michigan State College. Like I said, I believe he studied electrical engineering. He was super, like, apparently really good at that, like tinkering, electrical kind of stuff. He was like handyman and stuff. While he was at college, he met the woman that would later become his wife, Ellen Price, who was called Nellie. Now, she actually came from a wealthy family, and they got married in 1912, and I guess with the money that she had from her inheritance, they ended up buying this big 185-acre farm outside of Bath. They bought it for $12,000, I guess in those days money, which is kind of a lot of money. But they paid $6,000 up front, and then the other half was a mortgage. Like I said, that was a lot of money back then. This is, 1919. Now, according to everybody that knew him, they said he seemed like a pretty normal dude. Him and his wife didn't have any kids. even though most of the other people in the township did, because, it's kind of normal to have a bunch of kids, especially on a farm. But they didn't have any for whatever reason. I'm not sure. But they did say that he was real, they said he was real smart. He was real good at handyman type shit. But he was real surly. And he was, like, real impatient. Like, if something, like, for example, like, if some farm equipment or something like that, like, broke, like, he would just fucking destroy it. Like, fuck that.
Yeah,
he would go like that. He was that type of motherfucker. You know what I mean?
You get too frustrated.
Yeah. And also, they said this was kind of weird. They said that when he was out, like, sometimes he'd be out on the tractor or whatever, and he would be wearing, like, a suit. Like, he didn't wear, like, farmer clothes, like dungarees or whatever the fuck you wear. He's out there, like, in nice pressed clothes and stuff, and if they got dirty, he would have to go inside and change and then come back out. So, OCD? Not sure.
He was styling.
Trying
to keep up appearances.
Yeah, I guess that's what it was. But they're like, he was real weird about that.
He was doing it on a tractor.
Yeah. Granther said he went to the same college. Because it's now called Michigan State University.
He must have been trying to attract a mate.
Well, he already had a mate.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like I said, to me it sounds like OCD. But yeah. Also, his neighbor said he was kind of a dick to animals. Kind of a dick. A huge dick to animals. Reportedly, he once killed a neighbor's dog because it wouldn't stop barking. And also, he allegedly once beat one of his horses to death when it didn't do what he wanted. So, Another thing they said, too, was that he bought this fucking farm. I'm not even sure why he bought a fucking farm. Because they said he really wasn't interested in, like, farming, per se. They're like, what he would do is, he was real interested in, like, tinkering with stuff, like, with the machines, and trying to rig things. Like, one of his neighbors said that he would have, like, like, the tractor, and then he would, like, hitch 2 mowers behind it, and, like, drag it along. It didn't work, you know what I mean? But he was, like, trying to, I don't know, it was labor-saving devices or something like that. But he did not seem interested in farming at all. He just seemed interested in, like, dicking around and, like, puttering around and working on the machines and stuff like that.
Trying to get the tractor to become a mower, huh?
Yeah. And so because of that, he wasn't really, like, growing anything. Like, because, it's a farm.
That's just all he knew.
You got to grow stuff and you got to sell stuff. And it's like, that's how,
Yeah, that's all he knew. Maybe he came from a farming background and just never thought of anything other than, well, you got to buy a farm. That's where you live.
That's how you do.
Yeah.
You just buy a farm.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to actually do farming.
Yeah.
I just want to live on a farm.
Yeah. Maybe you grew up on one so that you didn't know anything better. You never thought of, like, well, I don't want to live in one of them.
Yeah, it's like, why don't you go live in a little city or something?
Yeah, I don't want to live in one of them apartments.
And just,
yeah, that's for pussies.
All this, get rid of that whole headache. Because, I mean, farming is hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you don't want to do it, I mean, don't do it. Because it's kind of, you got to
That's a job.
Yeah, you got to get up real early and you got to fucking put a lot of work in and shit like that.
Yeah, and fucking women work their asses off on farms.
They did. Everybody did.
Raising children, fucking doing laundry, and fucking doing farm work.
And they didn't have no fancy ass machines to do laundry or nothing like that. They had to cook everything by hand. They had to wash everything by hand.
Yeah, had to tell the kids to stop it. Stop it. Every 20 minutes, stop it.
Pat.
Yeah, stop it.
Yeah, probably. And they also usually worked, especially when they were, bringing in harvest and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Everybody would pitch in.
Yeah.
So it's weird that he had this massive farm. I mean, it's 185 acres. That's a pretty good sized farm, right?
Oh yeah, it's huge.
That's pretty fucking big.
185 acres.
And I don't even know if he like hired people to work on it. Because it's like you wouldn't really. I don't think you could really.
Well, this is 1 acre
by yourself. Yeah, that's.
So
true.
think of it. It's fucking 200 times this.
So it's like almost 200 times bigger than.
That's fucking That's like a small town. You could put a small town on that.
Yeah, I mean.
You could put a decent sized town on that.
Yeah, it's just fucking.
That's weird. He was out there going Jason. He's being like Jason on it. What would you do with that much land if you're not farming it?
Yeah, it's just.
And it's Michigan, so it's flat.
Yeah.
Flat as a board.
Granther says Bath is a hobby farm suburb of the state capital, Lansing. Yeah. So I guess that's why. Like I said, maybe he just thought that's just what you did, is you bought farm. Because I think he grew up on one, so.
Yeah. He didn't know any better.
And he didn't know any different. That you could actually just go live in a city and not fuck with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But you had to get a job.
That's true. That.
Maybe he didn't really want to have a job. But I don't know how he pays for his farm.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, so...
Because you got to pay the bills.
Right. And like I said, the farm has to be productive.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot of maintenance. So, to say the dude was frugal is a little bit of an understatement. Like I said, he was always trying to fucking save money and shit.
Bitch was broke.
Well, eventually he would get there, yeah.
Yeah.
But because of his reputation for being frugal, he actually got elected the treasurer of the Bath Consolidated School Board in 1924. Like I said, this is a big consolidated school that they had just built that had like 260 odd students in it.
Well,
like,
shit, that might have been enough to pay your bills then.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean,
close.
I don't know what the salary for that position was offhand. So yeah, so he's on the school board of this consolidated school that they had just built a couple years prior, or they had just built there. And while he was on the board, the treasurer, he was always agitating to lower everyone's taxes because he was, like I said, he was really mad that they had raised everyone's property taxes to pay for the school. And he kind of low-key, I don't even know if it was low-key, but he complained pretty often that the property taxes being raised was one of the reasons that his farm wasn't doing well. It wasn't just that he was farting around and not actually farming. You know what I mean? It was because of those damn property taxes. And also he said that the school superintendent, whose name was Emery Hoik or Hike, I'm not really sure how you pronounce that last name, that he was like mismanaging the funds, which I don't believe was the case, but Michigan, that's what he thought anyway.
Michigan probably didn't have, at that time, the excess population of rednecks and blacks to sharecrop it out, see? That's what they would have done in Mississippi if you had that much land. Because you can't, handle 200 acres. So you hire poor people. So you always want to grow something.
It's like you
just can't grow something here and you
work
pay
that
me
by yourself.
That's right. You pay me a certain percentage of your things, and so that's how you did it. Which that's how man. Half of the Mississippi population was sharecroppers during in this time. They couldn't afford land. They sure as hell could grow shit on other people's land.
I'm just saying, I never really read anywhere in this story, like, if he had a staff or, like, people that worked on the farm.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. And like I said, they didn't have any children. It was just him and his wife.
Yeah.
So, a year later, he was actually appointed the township clerk, which is a position that he wanted because it came with, like, a lot more power. But he was just appointed there because the last one retired or died or something like that. So he was appointed temporarily. And then when the election for the next election came up, he ran, but he lost. And that was another thing that upset him because he had really wanted that position. Also around this time period, his wife got really, really sick. Reportedly, it was tuberculosis, or they called consumption at the time. And she was pretty much, some reports said she was bedridden. She was in the hospital most of the time. And that also might have contributed to their financial woes, just the hospital bills. Even though I'm sure they're not as fucking outrageous as they are nowadays, you still had to fucking pay. And so I'm sure that wasn't helping. Now, because okay, so I'm not entirely clear if he just didn't have the money or if he just didn't want to pay, because they said that right around the time that Nellie was in the hospital with tuberculosis, and like I said, it was a while, she was in there for a while, he stopped making his homeowner's insurance and his mortgage payments on the farm. So he hadn't actually been making any payments for a few months. And I'm not sure if it was because he couldn't afford it or if he was, like, protesting, like, fuck this, I don't have the money, I'm not going to pay. So it had gone on long enough. I believe it was 10 months. I could be wrong about that. But at this point, like I said, they had paid for half the farm up front, but had mortgaged the other $6,000. And he had stopped paying. So obviously what happens when you stop paying, they start, going into foreclosure. Like, so they basically threatened, hey, we're going to foreclose on your farm. So all of these things were taking place at this time. The higher taxes, the farm failing, the farm being foreclosed on, his wife being sick, and them having all these medical bills, and all this other kind of shit. Ironically, and I've read this a couple places, they said that all of the assets that he had on the farm, equipment and stuff like that, if he would have just sold that, he could have paid the fucking farm off. But of course he's not going to do that. He just wanted to fucking whine, right? I guess. So, they're like all the stuff that was left. He obviously could have paid off the fucking shit with that. So, it was around the time that all this shit was going on, they believe, that he started conceiving his ultimate plan to take revenge on Bath Township as a whole. Specifically on members of the school board, particularly the school superintendent. But really, he wanted to kind of... It sounded like he just wanted to take out the whole school and himself, and, he just wanted to watch the world burn, pretty much. One of those kind of motherfuckers. So, like I said, considering what they found out later, after the incident, they're pretty sure that he was planning it for at least 9 months to a year. Like, just considering how long it would have taken for him to stockpile all the explosives that he used, how long it would have taken to wire all of this stuff, because he was doing it kind of on the down low, So that's about how long they think he was planning it. So right around late 1926, the school board either asked Andrew Kehoe or he volunteered. There was some maintenance that was needed to. He would kind of go in and do maintenance at the school. So like I said, he was on the school board. Nobody thought it was weird that he was in and out of the school all the time, right? Which was another thing that contributed to this fucking disaster. You know what's weird? It's like the Wikipedia page for this calls it the Bath School disaster. And I'm like, well, disaster makes it sound like a natural disaster.
Yeah, like an accident.
Which absolutely was not. So I prefer Bath School Massacre, because this was a mass murder.
Yeah.
It was not. It wasn't a disaster. It was. I mean, it was, but it was.
It wasn't an
accident.
It was a mass murder.
It wasn't an accident.
Yeah.
It wasn't like something like Aberfan in Wales, where all the coal slurry ran off and ran over the school and killed all the kids. You know.
Yeah.
Which.
You can't blame
Which technically that's an accident too, even though they shouldn't have been piling all the fucking sludge up there. Like obviously,
it wasn't intended though.
But it wasn't intended. They didn't intend for that to happen. This dude absolutely meticulously planned for this to happen exactly the way that it happened, pretty much. And like I said, we're just kind of lucky that it wasn't worse. I mean, it was bad enough because he had planned like much worse. So, like I said, because he was a handyman and did maintenance around the school, like he could go in and out of there. He was in the basement. He was doing shit in there all the time, and nobody said boo about it. It's like, you know what I mean? Nobody suspected anything. So, beginning even before he got asked that, like a couple months before, he started purchasing. I don't know why I said that. A bunch of pyrotol, which it's an explosive that was used a lot in World War I, and farmers actually used it in the 1920s for blowing up stumps. Yeah. So it was readily available, as was dynamite. He bought a lot of that too. And like I said, farmers used it all the time, so it wasn't unusual. It wasn't unusual for a farmer to come in and buy a bunch of it. Nobody was suspicious. Like, nobody thought anything about it. One thing he did do, though, was that over the months when he was buying, he bought about a ton of pyrotol, like over the ensuing months. And he bought like a fuck ton of dynamite also, but he was smart enough to like not buy it all at the same place. Like, he would go around to different stores and he kind of spaced it out so nobody would think it was suspicious that he was like buying a fuck ton of this stuff like all at once, you know what I mean? So he took a while. So, like I said, nobody thought it was weird, and
good that he didn't know about ANFO, ammonium nitrate fertilizer.
Yeah.
Because all you need is that and diesel fuel and time. Let that bitch cure in a fucking
Wasn't
container.
that what they used in Oklahoma City? What
Yeah.
they used in Oklahoma
It's the
City?
most common. It's
Yeah.
the easiest one.
Because it's easy to make.
Easy and cheap. And you can get your hands on a lot of fucking ammonium nitrate fertilizer bags.
Well, like I said, it's shit that's easy to get. Like, if
Yeah.
you know what you're doing. Like, don't tell anybody that.
The thing is you need dynamite to set it off.
Yeah.
But you don't need that much dynamite. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like you can touch fire to it and it blows up. You need a smaller explosion. It's called a booster to initiate a bigger explosion. But, you know, like, half a stick of dynamite in a 50-gallon oil drum's enough of that shit. It'd go off pretty big. It's a low explosive, but it's got a lot of heaving power. Look what it did to that federal building. And that was just a truck full of it.
Yeah.
It pushes. It doesn't shatter, but it pushes stuff.
Yeah, not great. But yeah, it's
Good for demolition.
it's
for
like I
demolition.
said, back in the 20s, like I said, it was very, very common for farmers to have all this stuff on their farm. And neighbors said that they'd heard him doing little explosions on the farm, like he was blowing up stumps or whatever, so they didn't think anything of it. You know what I mean? Like, nobody thought it was weird. A lot of farmers did that. Now, in the weeks prior to the incident, the massacre, there were a couple red flags, but, obviously nobody realized it until afterward. Later on, like, he was on the school board, like I said, so he was the treasurer, and so he was passing out the paychecks, like all the people that were employed by the school in that area. And when he was giving out paychecks the week before the massacre, he says to one of the bus drivers, "You want to take good care of that check. It's probably the last one you'll ever get," he said. And the bus driver's kind of like, huh, okay, what? Well, I don't know what that means, but whatever. Like, he probably just thought, am I going to get fired? What the fuck? And also, one of the teachers had asked if she could take her class to have a picnic, like, on his land or whatever. And he's like, oh, if you're going to do it, you better do it right away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so he said weird shit like that, like, before it happened. Now, before May 18th, which was the day that he planned to do it, he took his car and he loaded up the back seat of it with essentially shrapnel, scrap metal, nails, pieces of machinery, shovels, anything else that would cause maximum damage. So he put all that in his car, and then he put a bunch of dynamite behind the front seat and put a rifle in the passenger seat. Now, a couple of days before the massacre, Nellie, his wife, was discharged from the hospital. No one's entirely sure when or how it happened. However, they know that in the 2 days between her being discharged from the hospital and him doing the massacre, he murdered her because they found her body afterward, which I'll tell you about later. They suspect he probably bludgeoned her to death, but they're not entirely sure when it happened. But it happened sometime in those 2 days. Because they found her, after all the bombings and stuff on his land.
He wanted to get her out of the way so he could do his mission.
Yeah, they weren't really sure, in the aftermath, they weren't sure if he killed her because he didn't want her to see it, because he knew he was going to take himself out too. Or if he was just sick of her being sick and didn't want to deal with it anymore. I'm not really sure.
Maybe he didn't want to leave her on her own. He was like one of those family annihilators. Family annihilators, where he's going to lose his job and go to prison or some shit like that. So he kills his whole family because they can't survive without him. In his mind, it's I don't want them to suffer I don't want them to suffer the fucking dishonor of me losing my job. And that's how fucking weird some of these dudes are.
Yeah, that's fascinating to me, that whole mindset of family annihilators. Because like I said, I think we did a show about John List, probably one of the more famous ones. And Yeah, just the whole weird. It's the type of dude that their family is an extension of them. They don't really think of them as like separate human beings.
Yeah, they got the job, which allowed them to get the family. So it's a family of something that he created, and he's paying for it with his job. And if he loses control over it, it's no longer his family, so he has to destroy it because it's dishonored type of deal. I think what it is them protecting their power. And you know what I mean? Like, well, I don't want to look like a loser from a family. They'll run off and do whatever they want to do. They'll run off and take care of themselves. That's not that. You know, how am I gonna, you know, what will my role be? You know, I'll be obsolete. You know, I have to stand up for that.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I think it's like that.
It's a very narcissistic.
Yeah. But they don't realize it. They think it's proper.
Yeah.
But no, what it is, it's a bitch move.
Yeah.
You're gonna say, no, family, we got to pull together. I lost my job.
Yeah, I mean, that's what normal people do.
Would do. Yeah. I've got to get another one, you know. Fucking. So it might have been something like that. I don't want her to go. I don't want her to see what I'm getting ready to do. I don't want her to fucking live with the shame. It might have been something like that.
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah. And he probably needed a couple of days of privacy before he did it too.
Yeah, because he was like gearing up
for it. I guess.
But yeah,
she would have told on him.
Yeah, maybe she would have. I would have.
Yeah, she'd have told on him. If she could have. I don't think he could have kept it secretly. He couldn't have kept it secret what he was doing, probably. And he was going to get her out of the picture to save her the shame. It would have been some shit like that, maybe.
Yeah.
That's how I'm imagining it. He probably didn't like her much either.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, they tended not to like their wives back then.
Yeah. A wife was like something kind of like that they had to have.
Yeah, you got to have, well, who's going to clean up after you and have your babies? Yeah. And continue your bloodline.
Well, people might think that you're weird if you didn't have one.
Well, yeah, that too. So like it was just expected.
It was just expected you had one.
Just kind of,
I'm 19. I got to get married.
Well, who's my girlfriend? Okay,
yeah.
well,
I think it was
you'll do.
I think it was kind of like something that they felt was forced on them.
Yeah, it definitely did seem like that. And a lot of them, even like ones, particularly if you talk to like, you know, older boomers and stuff like that, and they stayed married all this time, they seem to like fucking hate each other's guts. My grandparents sure did.
Yeah. Yeah, it was funny. Like they have dudes fucking simping, modern young guys, fucking simping on these fucking simping for what they call a trad wife.
Trad wives, yeah.
Like, man, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I'm old enough to remember people like that. It's my grandparents' age. They weren't into that shit. No. That was something that they had to do.
Yeah, that was kind of it was like just imposed upon them.
Yeah, it was the way survival was. They just had to survive. And yeah, some of them were happy, but most of it was mediocre.
Yeah, it was just what you did.
Yeah, and I don't think, and I never got the feeling that they were, that there was a lot of fidelity too.
No.
Those dudes slept with anyone that they could after they were married. They tended to do that. You know what I mean? And they'd fuck around with their friends and go, you know, look at the strippers and probably get hookers and shit like that, and had girlfriends, and for all I know, the women were probably doing the same thing.
Maybe.
You know,
if they were lucky.
Women were going down on each other in secret and shit. You know, who knows what was going on. I just don't think it was as healthy. It wasn't as the Brady Bunch or fucking. It wasn't like Father's Knows Best and shit. Like those old programs in the 50s. No,
absolutely not.
They wanted it to be like that. I don't think it was usually like that.
Most of the time, no.
Because a lot of those people ended up breaking up. Of my parents' generation, most of them divorced. Because they tried to do that, but the situation changed in the United States. Their marriages didn't last long. By the time they were 30, they were divorced.
Yeah.
They got married at 19, 20. The fuck do you know at 19 or 20?
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah.
Really, I mean...
Yeah, and the jobs were drying up. You know, you had to have two income families and stuff started to be mandatory. And they were always kind of mandatory. This whole fucking the dude being a sole provider and the housewife thing.
That was quite rare.
That was rare. Yeah, that was only fucking upper middle class and rich people.
Yeah, most people couldn't afford to do that shit.
No.
You know what I mean? I will say
my grandmother always had jobs.
My grandmother worked when she was younger.
Yeah.
But once she had kids, she actually did stay home. But my grandfather worked at NASA, and he made decent money. And they didn't live like... They had just like a regular working to middle class house. They didn't have anything fancy.
My mom's mom, she didn't work because she had 9 kids. And her husband, I told you, my
that's a whole ass job. Actually, that's like 3 or 4 whole.
He was a
jobs.
defense contractor for fucking Grumman Aerospace and McDonnell Douglas, and he worked at NASA too. He was an aerospace engineer, so he had money.
Yeah.
My grandmother on my dad's side, she worked when she was a teenager, and a little girl worked as a teacher, a school teacher for kindergarten, and she worked at fucking in a department store in Laurel, Mississippi, and got married and had a kid. And when she had kids, she'd take about 6 months off, and then she'd get babysitters and go back to work part-time.
Yeah.
She was always
I think
working.
a lot of women did that.
Yeah, after they had a kid, they'd take about 6 months off. But then they went back to work once that baby be 6 months old.
Like old enough to leave it with a babysitter.
Yeah, and they had nannies.
Yeah.
Nannies that come in.
Because that's the thing. Like nowadays, it's sometimes, depending on what the husband's job is or the wife's job is, whoever is going to stay home and watch the kid, if you have a kid, daycare is so fucking expensive that sometimes if one of the spouses isn't making enough money to cover that, then you might as well stay home and watch the kids for free because you can't afford to put them in a daycare.
Yeah.
Like, it would take all your money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, daycare is ridiculous expensive.
Yeah, and this is Mississippi in my grandparents' age, so this is what we're talking about is 50s, late 40s, early 50s. And when my grandmother took the 6 months off to go back to work part-time, the nannies that she had were old black ladies that would come in as hired hands, and they'd take care of the kids. They'd even fucking clean up the house and get dinner ready for everybody when they came back. And that was just the way it was because it was Mississippi. There was no economy to speak of. There weren't very many jobs. So people worked for each other. And the black working class, they were kind of like at the bottom of the socioeconomic totem pole. They all worked for white people pretty much. If you needed, and they had good relationships when they all knew each other. If you needed fences built, you just said, do you know anybody can build a fence? Oh yeah, my cousins can build fences. They go and they build a fence. And that was the whole economy. And that's just the way it was. It developed though. By the time the 70s had rolled around, that was changing, because Mississippi started to have a decent enough economy to where kids could be raised to reach 18, 19-year-olds old, and they would leave. A lot of them would just leave. They go to other states. But before that, they couldn't even leave. That's weird, Think of that. There was no concept of leaving it. They just stayed where they were. Weird. But those was just another time,
High Desert says, my mom was a stay-at-home mom. Dad worked, but it only worked because we never ever went on vacation. Yeah, I think when my mom had me when she was 18. My dad was also 18. When she was real young, she stayed home a bit. But honestly, I remember her working all the time. She worked at KFC. She worked, later on, she went back to school for a little while and got an accounting degree. And, she worked as an accountant for a long time. She opened a daycare in our house, so she watched kids in the house so she could stay home and watch her kids. That's when my sister Amanda was a baby. So I always remember my mom working, pretty much. I don't remember her ever being stay at home. And honestly, we always stayed with my grandmother pretty much all the time. We were always at my grandmother's house because obviously they were retired. So yeah, and Burley Kev says neighbors and family used to watch kids a lot more back in the day. Yeah, like I said, we lived by, my dad's mother, so we stayed over there pretty much all the time, when my parents were working.
Me and Jen grew up in the 70s, and fucking we were feral children. Fucking we could do whatever we wanted. I'd be 8 years old, I could leave. My only rule was I had to be back by the time the fucking street lights turned on. Man, we used to get in all kinds of fucking trouble. It was fun though. That's just how it was. Little boys running around with dogs and shit. They had packs of dogs with us. Yeah. Going down to, and that was L.A. and in Mississippi, depending on what was going on. It was just a fun time.
Yeah, it was
like something out of damn Little Rascals.
High Desert also said, my parents' relationship is definitely what I would describe as mediocre.
Yeah, mediocre.
Like I said, I kind of feel like a lot of people felt like, well, that was just kind of what you did. Like, you got married, you had kids, and you just stayed with that person, even if they were a fuck up and you didn't like them and all this other shit. Well, we got to stay together for the kids. And then once the kids are grown, they're like, well, we're too old to do anything different now, so we're just going to sit around in our recliners and snipe at each other.
Yeah, and get fat and look at television and get fat and read Reader's Digest and stupid shit like that. And lady sitting there with a National Enquirer. You know, very limited, low information.
Like so depressing.
They weren't stupid. They were just very low information, and they had very little opportunities. Even in the United States, which was kind of like, that was like the best place to be in the world at that time, as far as opportunities. You still didn't have a lot of opportunities compared to today. And a lot of it had to do with the information. You wouldn't know what was happening, so you couldn't pull the trigger on anything. You didn't know what was happening fucking in another city.
Yeah.
You didn't know the jobs were happening there. And if you went into the fucking newspaper, there's nothing good in there, help wanted. You had to know what was going on through people. Networking. And unless you were a rich guy, you wouldn't know what was going on.
Yeah, it's like most people, like I said, just lived in little, like I said, my grandmother was a stay-at-home mom. She had 3 boys. I have my dad and 2 uncles. But, you know, my grandfather had a good job, and they didn't have a super, super nice house or anything like that. It was just like a regular little working class Florida house. You know what I mean? They didn't do anything fancy. It wasn't fancy, I don't think. And the vacations they went on, they never flew anywhere or nothing like that. They would just like drive a few miles to the beach or something. But that's about all they did. They just raised the kids, you know? That was all they did. So yeah. So like I said, at some point, he killed his wife for whatever reason. They suspect that he bludgeoned her to death. When they found her, after this whole shit had happened, they found her, and she was all charred because he burned his farm too, which I'll get to in a minute. But he put her in a wheelbarrow and like put her out back or something. And here's what's weird: around the cart or the wheelbarrow where he put her body, there were like all these like boxes and stuff that had like money and silverware and jewels and stuff like that were like partially burned. And like he just left them like around her body, like he had planted them there for some reason, because he knew he was not going to survive. He wasn't planning on.
What did he have around her again?
It was like money and jewelry and silverware and stuff, like valuable stuff.
He burned it up?
Yeah.
And put it around her?
Yeah.
Like a sacrifice?
Well, no, because he had actually, what he had done, and I'm not entirely sure, I think that why he did this, because he's more famous for like wiring up the school to explode. But he also wired his own house, his farmhouse, to blow up. And there was nothing of that left except like a couple chimneys. Nothing.
Yeah.
So he blew the fuck out of that too, with a bunch of fire bombs. And this is really fucked up. I mean, it's fucked up enough that he killed his wife. But he also made sure all his animals got killed. They found all of his horses in the barn with their legs tied together with wire, so they wouldn't be able to escape when the fire started. So they all burned to death in there because they couldn't run.
What an asshole.
So yeah.
I'm getting a weird picture that what this dude is he's a family annihilator.
Yeah, but he just took half the town with him.
Half the town with him. Yeah. Similar mindset.
And I suspect, and a lot of people have said this too, that he, like I said, it was dual purpose. Like he wanted to get rid of his farm and just annihilate his life. His wife, his valuables, everything, because he knew he was going to take himself out at the end of this, which he does. Spoiler alert. But he also set the fire bombs off at his house before the ones at the school, because he knew that like the fire and police would be at his house.
It was a diversion.
And it was a diversion. I kind of feel like that's probably why.
Yeah. Because
he detonated all of the fire bombs at his house at 8:45 in the morning.
Let all his horses burn up.
And yeah, I know. Like I said, it's bad enough that he killed those people, but for some reason, like that really fucking bothered me.
Well, yeah, what point is that? You're so much of a control freak you can't let the horse run?
Yeah.
And let somebody else take care of it?
Yeah.
Afraid the horse is going to tell everybody about your weakness? You know what I mean? Fuck, that's just weird
It's
shit.
just let him out. But he's like I said, he
let
wanted.
him out,
It seemed like he just wanted to just obliterate his entire life and take most of the town with him.
Yeah, a lot of hatred.
Which I can't fathom that level of...
He thinks the horse can't survive without him. He doesn't want to give it to anybody else.
Yeah, like I said, this
shit like that.
at its heart, this is really like monstrous narcissism. You really think that you're the center of the fucking universe.
Yeah.
Like you have to. To even imagine this
I can't even think
scenario.
that way. I can't even think that
I
way.
can't either. To me, it's just kind of... And him is like, oh, they raised my taxes. Oh, my wife's sick and it's costing all this money. Oh, my farm's being foreclosed. Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah.
But, sucky shit happens. It's life. Sucky shit happens to pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
You just gotta fucking deal with it, man. You can't just,
Yeah.
Sometimes it is somebody's fault.
Yeah.
But it's like killing that person isn't gonna fix it.
Yeah, well, it depends. Depends on what it is.
I mean, yeah, it depends
what
on
he's doing. Yeah, I mean,
But he just killed a bunch of people that didn't have anything to do with
what
his problem was.
I'm a trained soldier. If you're an enemy
what the fuck? What's the point of that?
I fucking hate you. I'll fucking dust your ass off. I don't have any fucking problem with that. But that doesn't mean I'm gonna take your horse out with you. You know, if the horse can go too, I'll let the horse go. You know what I mean? I'm not like that.
Yeah, the horse didn't do anything.
I'm not gonna kill your dog. You know what I mean?
I'm
not gonna hold your dog
anybody that would kill a dog. I mean, unless the dog is literally gnawing your leg off right now.
You do what you gotta do.
Okay, but it's just that's fine. But it's just kind of it's not fine, but you know what I mean. Yeah. But it's other than that, just killing. Oh, it's barking too loud, or it's fuck that, Jesus. Anybody that would do that they should just take that person and get him out of the gene pool because it's there's no good is gonna come of that. Like I said, we talk about this all the time. A lot of serial killers start with animal cruelty. And the fact that they don't take it that seriously, that is to their detriment later on. Because if you start like that, then they're going to move on to humans.
I've never understood the animal cruelty thing because, for me, I would think, you know what I mean? If you don't have an awareness of why I'm fucking you up, then there's no use in fucking you up. I kind of want you to know why I'm fucking you up.
because otherwise, what's the fucking point?
What's the point? You know, I'm doing this because we're getting even.
Yeah, because you did this bullshit to me.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Well, it's like that. That's why people don't get. That's why people don't get sad about mob murders and stuff like that. Because it's look, this dude fucked me over, and I shot him. You know what I mean? People are probably not right, but we understand why you did it.
Well, they're both volunteers in that gang.
Right.
They've agreed to be in organized crime, and that's the rules of that.
Yeah, it's you fuck someone over.
Tit for tat.
They're gonna
reprisal.
Put you in cement shoes.
Everybody
knows. Everybody knows the game.
I totally agree. Right, but you fucked me over. You've risked it. I'm coming back, and I'm gonna want you to know that it's me and why. In your final moments. But your dog doesn't understand any of that, so it can't fucking.
And children don't understand.
Yeah, children don't. So they can't feel guilt or regret. You know what I mean? So why are you why are you taking it out on some of this innocent? Dumb.
It is dumb.
In this case, I think what it is that he's burning the horses up just because he doesn't want anybody else to have them.
Yeah.
That's what I think it is. It's all about
I'm taking all my toys with me.
Yeah. I'm going home.
You guys will be sorry.
Yeah.
That you did this to me.
Yeah.
That's probably what he was thinking.
Yeah. That's the only thing I can think of he doesn't want anybody else to have the horses.
Yeah, maybe so. Because like I said, he could have sold them.
I just let him go.
Well, if he was so hard up for money, like I said, he could have sold the horses. He could have sold a lot of the shit on the farm and could have made some money
in his final days
and solved the fucking problem and not had to do any of this bullshit.
I think he's a family I think he's a family annihilator gone to an extreme. That's what I think this is. That's what I'm getting out of this crime.
I mean, he's just a fucking nut. And like I said, the fact that he could blend in and be just be on the school board and everyone thought he was a little cranky, he was kind of irritable and stuff, but it's nobody thought he was a fucking lunatic or anything as far as anybody knows. And I will note that this is 1920s, so it's you shot someone's dog. Nowadays that would be a big fucking deal, but back then probably not as much. They're just that sucks, but you know what I mean.
Well, it's also not the South.
I don't think they took it as
That's
seriously
Michigan.
as they would take it nowadays.
You can't shoot somebody's dog in the South. That's like shooting their fucking child. You're taking your life in your own hands. You probably gonna get killed.
Yeah, I don't really get like why.
Yeah, there's gonna be reprisal for that. You
Well,
don't
like
shoot
I said,
dogs.
I heard about people like back in the 20s, 30s, and stuff like that. They thought nothing of like drowning a bag of kittens or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ!
Well, they thought that was like animal control. There's too many kittens around here.
Serial killer shit.
Yeah. Well, they didn't have the pound, because they sent them to the pound. They just gas them. You know.
Yeah, I don't like that either. I'm just
Yeah,
saying
but that's
that
what's happening.
I know.
There are too many animals, is what they're going to say. Oh, well, no, they can't adopt them out, so we're going to have to gas
Well,
them.
that's why you have to get your animals fixed.
Yeah.
As soon as possible.
People were poor back then. They didn't have a concept of fucking pets like you have also. Cats were something that lived outside. They didn't even feed them. They gave them little garbage shit that they didn't eat.
Yeah, like I said, I saw a
didn't have
documentary
cat
about,
food.
I think it was like Foods That Made Us or something like that.
Yeah.
And they did a whole episode about pet food.
Yeah.
And pet food, like specifically for pets, wasn't really a thing.
Yeah.
Until like, what was it, the 40s, the 50s,
Yeah.
something like that. But before that, the animals just ate table scraps, or they just were out just outside like eating mice and rats and shit.
Yeah.
They didn't really have like cat
They didn't
food
feed
or
'em.
dog food.
They fed themselves.
Really. Like, not to any great
Yeah.
degree. Not like nowadays where it's like billions of dollars.
Yeah, and cats weren't
industry.
weren't indoor animal. They kept them outside. They didn't let them in because they pissed everywhere. And cat boxes. They didn't have cat boxes. So they went outside. And the dogs were pretty much outside. Now, toy dogs, they kept those indoors. But it was only rich people had those, and I don't know how they took care of them. So I don't know.
Yeah.
In the South, animals were outside. The dog and the cats would be on a porch. You didn't let them in.
Yeah, they didn't like live in your house. They didn't sleep in your bed like our kitties
And they
did.
got table scraps. And they kept the farms and houses clean of mice and rats, and they went out and hunted. Yeah.
Whereas our cat can't even kill a cockroach.
Yeah. I do remember. Do you remember in the
Pookie
70s,
won't.
more cats would show up, and the adults would get mad. Oh, I've got another one out there, you know. And they'd be tomcats fighting and chasing other tomcats away, and it was drama. Yeah, that was the Mississippi shit. Hardcore redneck shit.
So, actually, I have to go to the bathroom, and I'm going to
Alright.
get another drink while I'm out, so you could
Okay.
talk.
I'll make the drink.
Oh, okay.
I'll make the drink.
Well, then I have to stay here then.
Okay. I'll be back soon.
Okay.
I'll be back soon. 'Cause
All
I
right,
make the
so
drink, too.
so like I said, so he had actually wired his house to go off first. No one's entirely sure, as I said, when he killed Nellie, but it was sometime. I don't think it was the day. I think it was maybe the day before. But the body was too charred to determine like when she had been killed. So he set off all the bombs at his house at about 8:45 in the morning. And as you would expect, people heard the explosion. It was really loud. And so, firefighters started rushing to the scene. The neighbors kind of came. It's like, oh my God, what's going on? They're like going to come help because they thought it was an accident and shit like that. So he did that on fucking purpose because an hour later at 9:45 in the morning, a huge explosion was heard from the school. Reportedly heard like towns away, like miles and miles away. Like it was really, really loud. I will note that it was the last day of school, actually. And like some of the older kids were supposed to be like graduating that day and all this other kind of shit. So, he knew that. I think that's why he chose that day, because he knew that most of the kids would be there because it was the last day of school. So they heard the explosion, while they were at his farm, at Andrew Kehoe's farm. So they heard that, and they, obviously went out to the school to see what the fuck was going on over there. And because everybody in town heard it, everybody started rushing toward the school building because they could hear where it came from. So it's like, parents and shit like that, and they were just all rushing toward there. And the horrifying thing, and like I said, if you see the picture that I used for the thumbnail, the entire north wing of the school collapsed. The roof caved in. It was 2 stories, and the second story collapsed on the first floor. One of the teachers said that she said that the floor went up several feet, and then she couldn't see anything for a second, and then when she could see again, she just saw kids like flying like through the air, like and desks and books and shit like that, just like fly. It was like a huge. She said she saw some flying out of the building and stuff like that. Like so the whole north wing like collapsed, and the roof just came down on it.
Yeah, using a low explosive, it's got a very heaving force. It's not like a modern high explosive.
Yeah, because everybody that survived said that it felt like the floor went up.
Yeah, push it up
like
that.
Up and then back down.
Yeah, those low.
I gotta pee.
Go ahead. Those low explosives are very good at demolition. Pushing things over, destroying buildings, pulling stumps out. They're not a very good weapon, though, for a lot of different reasons. When they started World War I, they didn't have high explosives, really. A lot of the explosive shells that they used were kind of things more like TNT. And when TNT came out, that was like a high explosive compared to what they were using before. And the difference is in a low, the rate of burn is orders of magnitude greater in a high explosive. The speed at which it burns. Low explosives are more kind of like propellant, like gunpowder. It's a burning kind of like it's good for like a fuel, like rocket fuel. That's why you use that in a gun barrel to launch out a projectile. High explosive, it burns so fast that you couldn't even push a bullet with it. It would just shatter the barrel. Pow! And example, if you set off a low explosive next to somebody, say like a old World War I style shell hit, it'd blow mud up and blow you up into the air, and you might get hit by a metal fragment or something of the shell, but it tended not to be fatal. You'd hit the ground, your bell would be ringing. It may or may not kill you. But then a little bit of high explosive in a grenade, if that went off next to you, it'd go off look like a flash cube, pow! And it would just shatter you. Fucking the shock wave would fucking pow, knock clothes off you. It would flow down like feathers. You'd be burned on one side, fucking bones broken. And it would be like getting hit in the head with a baseball bat. It'd probably kill you. And then there'd be fragments in that. So what he's using is what we would consider a low explosive. So it's just throwing kids everywhere, throwing buildings and causing the shit to collapse. It'll still kill you, but
it did
still kill you. Yeah, but it would have been a lot more effective, a lot more deadly had that been high explosive. Nobody would have lived. There would have been no survivors.
They said that some of the people, because like I said, immediately like everybody in town like rushed over to see, like to help. You know what I mean? Because they saw what had happened from the picture. Like it's horrifying. And so the roof had caved in, and they said there was just all these kids. Some of them were dead, some of them were still alive, but like you could just see like their arms and legs sticking out and shit like that. They tried to move the roof off of them to get them out, and they couldn't do it. So one of the guys said he was going to go back to his farm and get this. He had this real heavy rope, and they thought they could all kind of get together and like pull this roof off of them. And he said on the way back to his farm, he saw Andrew Kehoe in his car, and he was driving toward the school, and he said he smiled and waved at him. And he thought it was really weird. Like at this point, like nobody knew that he was the one responsible for it, right? So he was just kind of like, okay, what's that about? So yeah, they're just like, it was fucking, as it would be, it's chaos. Because it's a small town. So all of the parents of the kids, they know their kids are in that school, and so they're running in there like yelling their kids' names and shit like that. People start trying to pull all the fucking, detritus like off and try to get all the fucking kids out of there. And like I said, a lot of them were killed outright. Now,
I bet a lot of them were just killed by the collapse.
Well, yeah, because like I said, it fell. Yeah. The second floor essentially collapsed into the first floor.
Yeah, and they were just crushed. Yeah.
And some of them were just crushed.
Yeah. Had this been a high explosive, there'd have been nothing there. That the building, that area would be gone, because everything's just blown and shattered out, and you wouldn't have found any kids there. They've been dead. and scattered out everywhere, and pieces of them and shit. So it's good that he didn't have his hands on weapons grade high explosive. There'd have been no survivors. Because I can tell you, he probably thought about where the bomb placement should go. He's probably well thought out.
He spent months and months going into the school, they found out later, pretending to do maintenance, and he was smuggling in
bombs,
explosives, and wiring it all to the school's electrical system, and he knew exactly where to put everything. He just like put it under the floors, like down in the basement, and all this other kind of shit. And he was doing that for ages, like for months, and nobody suspected anything.
Boy, he's lucky.
Like he's putting stuff in like little crawl spaces and everything.
He's lucky he didn't have any wires crossed or anything wrong in his schematic and accidentally blow himself up early.
I mean, it would have been cool if that actually would have happened, if he'd have just blown himself up.
He must have wired it, and
that would have been the ideal situation.
And then attached it first to a light bulb, and if that light goes on, he knows that would detonate the bomb. So he goes, okay, the circuit's cool then. Then he checks it, and then he attaches the bomb to it.
I mean, he knew what he was doing. Like I said, this took a long time for him to do it. He was spending months wiring this fucking school to blow up.
Yeah, you never want to attach a bomb to any kind of circuit without testing it first with a light bulb or a speaker or something. Because if there's current going through there and you attach it, you're going to blow yourself up.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's too bad that didn't happen.
He must have thought it all out.
Yeah. Like I said, he went to college for electrical engineering.
Okay, well then there you go.
He wasn't a dummy.
He thought about it. Yeah, I guarantee he didn't attach the bomb first.
You know, he didn't mess anything up.
Yeah.
The only thing, as we'll say later, is like the only thing that went wrong. I mean, from his point of view, was that 500 pounds of the explosive that he put in the other part of the school didn't go off, and they're not entirely sure why. But they're glad it didn't because that would have leveled the whole school.
Made a mistake somewhere.
Either that, or they think maybe the explosion in this side, destroyed it, or
destroyed the
fucked up the timing, or fucked up the wiring, or whatever. They're not really sure.
One bomb destroyed another.
Yeah, they thought that's probably the most likely scenario. Yeah. So, but he wasn't done. So he not only blew up his own fucking house, killed his wife, blows up half the school. And then he drives up to the school in his car. And like I said, at this point, nobody knows that he's the one that did this shit, right? They just think, oh, he's here to help, like everybody else in town was, right? So he pulls up in his car, and he sees the superintendent, who was his nemesis, I guess, because he was the one that he blamed for everything that happened to him for whatever reason. And he basically says to the guy, hey, come over here, I gotta tell you something, or, I gotta tell you something. And when the dude got up to his car, to talk to him, Andrew Kehoe pulled out the rifle that he had in the passenger seat and shot into the back seat where the dynamite was. And blew his car up.
Damn.
With himself in it. And killed that dude. Because remember I said that he had loaded the whole car up with shrapnel?
Yeah.
The whole back of the car was shrapnel. Shrapnel went fucking everywhere. So it killed him, it killed the superintendent, it killed the postmaster, it killed another guy, and also, this is really sad. Actually, there was a little girl who was 8 years old, and she had survived the blast in the school and had gotten out of the school and had gone and hid behind a tree, and she got killed by the shrapnel.
Bad luck, yeah.
When his car blew up. So it killed a bunch of people and injured a bunch of people too. He just drove up all normal. Was like, hey, I gotta tell you something, and blam, he just blew the fucking car up.
Dude's a real shitbird. I wonder how he knew that a rifle shot would set off the fucking gun, set off the TNT. It was TNT.
Dynamite? It's just dynamite. Dynamite.
I guess shock would set that off.
Well, it did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That wouldn't set off high explosive, but I guess because I have to see what he actually did. I wouldn't trust that as a way of igniting that. Why didn't he just wire it?
I don't know, man.
Weird.
But that's how he did it, and it worked, sadly. Yeah. Actually, the postmaster, who I think was one of the people killed, his leg got blown off. In the hole, they said just fucking shrapnel went everywhere.
Whoa, I know why. He must have just put the damn barrel directly to the fucking dynamite itself. It wasn't a bullet. It was the expanding gases coming out of there. Was enough acted as a blasting cap and set it off. That's probably what happened.
Yeah.
Stuck the muzzle right into it. Pow! That would do it.
I just can't imagine how fucking cold-blooded do you have to be to just
blow up little 8-year-old girls and shit hiding
blow up a
behind
little
you.
8-year-old girl, like just act like everything's normal. Like I say, he was driving in the car, like smiling and waving at everybody.
Yeah.
Then just acting like a total regular dude. Hey,
Yeah.
come over here. And then he just fucking blew himself up and blew up a bunch of other people up.
Yeah.
That blows my fucking mind.
Well, that's not a situation I can relate to. You know what I mean? Like,
most people happily
Yeah.
cannot relate to that because most people are not fucking psychopaths.
the closest situation to that I can relate to is dudes that were like in bomber crews flying over fucking Germany or Dresden or Tokyo, fucking dropping bombs on cities because they can't go low enough to hit factories, so they just drop them way at high altitude outside of fucking aircraft artillery range, hoping that the bomb sight and some of them bombs will fall on a target. But it's just burning the fucking city down. Then they said, fuck it, let's just use fucking thermite, which burns the whole fucking city down. And you know, as a rational man, even though these bomber crewmen on average age were only like 19, I've read what their memories and what they said. They said all they could have just imagined is just burning and screaming women and children down in there.
Well, yeah.
And them just trying to choke it back. And then sometimes they'd come back across the fucking target zone and you could smell burning fucking flesh and hair at that high altitude. Some dudes said that they thought they could hear somehow screams of people over the droning engines, which is not possible, but it's just, it's getting to you.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be worried if it wasn't getting to you.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're like, you're being told to do this, and you're trying to win the war as quickly as possible and to stop the killing. You know what I mean? And that was the rationale at the time of the technology that they had on the time. The faster we get, it's like pulling a Band-Aid off fast. You know what I mean? Let's just fucking do it as hard as we can,
like I
quick
get
as we
it.
can, and then the war will be over, and we'll try to forget all this. But still, man, all the little children burning up, and all the women.
You can see why a lot of the dudes from that generation just like drank themselves.
Yeah, my uncles were just drinking themselves to death. And they didn't even drop bombs. They were fighting on those fucking islands.
Through some shit. Because that's the thing. It's just kind of like, look, I wouldn't have any problem killing an asshole or like somebody that was doing something horrible. Like,
an enemy.
Most people could do that.
Yeah, somebody who hates you and you hate them.
Like, hey, fucking stop that.
You've
like,
done things.
Like they're a serial killer
things.
or something like that. It's you could kill that person and like probably enjoy it.
Yeah.
But it's just like killing innocent ass people or animals or children or Jesus Christ. Who the fuck can do that? Hopefully nobody's okay with that.
Yeah.
I'd be very, like I said, I'd be very worried about you if you were okay with that. If you weren't like fucked up about it the rest of your life.
Yeah. Bombing missions, man.
Jeez.
That's rough. Because, especially back in the old days, because they're not personal.
I wouldn't be able to do it.
It's more like random. We have to take out this whole
I would never be able
city. Fucking,
I would never be able to get it out of my head.
Yeah.
I'd be fucked up for like forever.
Yeah, they didn't have a choice. There was no pinpoint.
I know, but
no pinpoint targeting. So it goes, the ball bearing factories are in this town somewhere, and maybe they moved it. You know, the Japanese were actually making stuff in houses and doing it in cottage type industries. They had little kids making war production. So the civilian population was doing war production. And they were just like, and that was Kurt LeMay was in charge of that. He was just like, well, this whole city here, we got to burn it down. They were paper towns and paper and wood in Japan. They burned like crazy. They didn't even worry about explosives anymore. They just used thermite, just burn it down. Those fire bombings in Tokyo and shit were far worse than the atomic bomb drops. That atomic bombs, that was just impressive because it was just one bomb. That was nothing compared to what they did at Tokyo, and that was just thermite. They just kept burning it down.
Yeah.
Killed a lot more people. It was miserable. It was slow. They knew what was happening.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's in a way, it's worse because it's like the bomb. At least for most of them was not for a lot of them but for most of them was probably like
it's the death for most of them.
But it's just kind of like, it's still fucked up.
No, but the firebombing of Tokyo involved basically a bunch of fucking women in their teens and 20s running around trying to save their children. That's the thing that would really get, you know.
Yeah.
And these are innocent little kids, you know. In bed.
Yeah, like I said, I would never, you know, and I'm an overthinker anyway. So if I was forced somehow like to do something like that or ordered to do something like that, I would never get over it.
Yeah.
I would never get over it. I just wouldn't.
Yeah, and we were doing.
I would never sleep ever again. I would just like think about it. Like
yeah, we were doing the same thing to the Germans. Burn Dresden down, fucking burning whole cities down. You know, civilians in there. And then the Russians came in and raped every woman, pretty much. The Russian army was a whole army of rapists back in those days because they'd released them from prison.
Yep.
Fuck.
Fun times.
Yeah.
Fucked up. People were a mistake. Burley Cat says, "Have you guys covered H.H. Holmes?" Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A long time.
Did a whole show on one.
We
of our first ones.
have a little bobblehead.
Got an H.H. Holmes
of
bobblehead
H.H.
right
Holmes
here.
right next to BTK.
Yeah, I don't do his voice because we don't know what he
We
sounds like.
don't know what his voice sounds
We
like,
don't
so
know what
we
it sounds
can't do
like.
an impression of his voice like we
Yeah.
can with BTK.
Yeah.
We can pretend we know what he sounds like.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a little H.H. Holmes back there. We got sent that a long time ago. But yeah, we did a show. It was a long time ago, though. Camp Guy said something funny. He said we used to have a swim life jacket for my kids when they were about 3 or 4 years old that looked like a possible terrorist. It was a life jacket, but it looked like it might have explosives in it. That's pretty awesome. It's like, yeah, your little baby is a fucking terrorist. Smogside said, I heard from a YouTuber in a video essay that evil is essentially the absence of good. Hearing about stuff like this, it reinforces that belief for me. I kind of feel like this dude is like a classic sociopath. He had a grievance. Whether it was justified or not, I mean, probably not. It sounds like he was just whining. You know, yeah, you pay taxes for a school. That's how shit works. You know, yeah, you know, sometimes your wife gets sick. That sucks. You know what I mean? But you just deal with it. It's not anyone else's fault. But in his mind, the whole world was like against him, or was picking on him. You know, he had to have somebody to blame for it, and that is definitely a type. But I kind of feel like he just seemed like, I saw this on another video that I was watching about this. That he said it's probably just because, well, he probably didn't care about anybody except himself. No. He just thought everyone else was NPCs. Like I said, classic sociopath. But he especially didn't care about the kids because him and his wife didn't have any kids. Yeah. So he's just kind of like, well, and maybe if he did, he wouldn't have done it. I don't know. He might have still. But he's just like, they're just someone else's kids, and I'm paying for them. Yeah. So fuck him.
I guarantee you, he was an Elliot Rodgers style personality.
Yeah, I got that vibe.
That was also a family annihilator who went kind of like the dude who made the tank. I'm going to take it out on the whole town. He's like one of those.
Yeah. Which, like I said, I don't understand that. Like I said, it's definitely a type. You see it with, like, mass shooters and, like, the tank guy and stuff like that, where their grievances are suddenly everyone else's problem. Even people that didn't have anything to do with it. I guarantee
you, if you interview this dude and get to know him, he'd probably come across kind of like an Elliot Rodgers. And people of this era of the 20s wouldn't have recognized that personality type. They didn't have the information. They were very low information.
Yeah, they didn't have criminal profiling.
They didn't know about criminal profiling, and they really weren't very good at being able to detect a weirdo. Because a lot of weirdos are proper on the surface. And people in this era would superficially do the right things, although you could detect behind it. People didn't. I don't think people really went with their feelings the same way you would today.
Yeah, they didn't really seem to. That's one thing.
Well, he did the right things and he said the right things, so he must be okay.
Yeah,
but they weren't like, that fucker's weird.
And I kind of feel like it was maybe like that up until the 50s or maybe even the 60s. Like, I kind of feel like as long as you were making all the right motions... Yeah. Like, everyone thought, oh, well, they're normal. Yeah. It's okay. Because everything was about surfaces and about appearances.
Yeah, they were superficial.
Like, yeah, you might have got creeped out, but nobody said anything about it. It seemed like people weren't really having those conversations.
They didn't seem to be able to detect if a person was gay or not. And then they would somehow suspect a person being gay when they weren't. Yeah. So they weren't very good, I don't think, at sizing up other people.
Because they were so, I mean...
They were kind of sheltered.
Well, yeah, they were sheltered, and I kind of feel like there was a thing where, like I said, there was your public face, was what everyone was expected to do. Like we were talking about earlier, like get married, having kids, blah, blah, blah. Everyone was kind of expected to do that. People thought you were weird if you didn't do that. But if you did do that, then you must be all right. You're doing what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. And if you're not doing what you're supposed to do, then shit, there must be something really wrong with you.
Then there's something really wrong with you.
But then if you look at what it is they're not supposed to be doing, it's just kind of normal shit. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, Louise Brooks, famous actress at the time. She was hot as shit.
Yeah, we did a show about her.
Yeah, she'd go to lesbian bars and get it on lesbian. They thought she was weird as fuck.
And that's like
she did that shit. She did that shit in Germany. They're fucking... When she was doing a show there, and her manager was like, "Don't go down there. Don't do that." It's like, let's fuck it. It's just a club, you know. The girls are cool, just hanging out. In the United States, they would probably put her in a fucking
they were a lot
probably
more,
try to commit her.
They were a lot more kind of chill about that in Europe.
Yeah,
more or less. I guess
here in the United States, they thought that was a mental illness.
Yeah, they were real backward about that in the U.S. until fairly recently, honestly.
Yeah, if your parents didn't like it, they could probably commit you to an insane asylum.
Oh, big time. They did that a lot with a lot of women.
Yeah,
because really, they didn't even need much of a reason. You know?
Right.
Oh, she's a little too mouthy.
So everything was superficial in the 20s.
Yeah, you really had to kind of toe the line. Must have been exhausting. Holy crap, I can't imagine living under
it kind of makes you
strictures.
It kind of like sheds some light on why motorized bandits and fucking gangsters of that era were very popular with women and people, because they were real flexible in the way that they thought.
And they're living outside the strictures of normal society. So that can seem very appealing.
Liberating. And they were outside that. You know, and Frank Barrow from Bonnie and Clyde, he was openly bisexual, which that's not talked about on a lot of the... But fucking the law enforcement of the day knew all about that, but they really didn't say much about that. But that was... The Barrow Gang was about Clive and his girlfriend Bonnie getting it on in threesomes with these other dudes that were in the gang with them. And she loved it. You know, she thought it was fucking great. And it was something he picked up in prison. Because that shit was going on in prison.
Well, yeah.
But whenever you see these old movies about Bonnie and Clyde, they don't ever bring that up.
I feel like even nowadays, well, maybe not nowadays, but I kind of feel like until fairly recently, that would have been a controversial thing to put in a movie. You don't really see depictions of bisexual dudes in movies.
Yeah.
I can't really think of one. I'm sure there has to be one.
Clive evidently was open.
There's movies about gay dudes, but it's like they don't really... Bisexual dudes are really underrepresented, I feel.
Evidently Clive was open about that. And, you know, he would tell other gangsters that he was like that. They abducted a policeman and kept him for a couple days. They were cool to him, and then they just they let him go. He wrote down his whole experience, and he said that Clive... He said they were nothing like any of out of those pictures. He said that Bonnie was charming and real intelligent and super femmy and real happy, and that they were a really cool couple. And he said Clive was a very cool dude. They would train with weapons, do live fire training. They knew everything about guns. They had made motorized banditry. They'd taken that down to a science. They tried to avoid law enforcement and avoid killing law enforcement, but if they came face to face with them, they'd throw down. And that cop said that Clive was openly bisexual and told him. And, you know, wasn't ashamed of it. But that was just, you don't ever hear about that in the movies because it wouldn't play well in the movies, but that's the way he was.
Like I said, I still don't, I'm sure there has to be one somewhere if somebody knows. I haven't seen all the movies ever. But I kind of feel like there's movies with gay men in them, but I can't really recall any character that was just like bisexual, like a bisexual man.
I guess it doesn't look good on film, and it's too confusing for the audience. That you have like a, you know, kind of like a fucking...
I don't know, that's just funny to me. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Like, why is it confusing? I don't understand why it's confusing.
It's too confusing for the audience. Well, is he gay or is he straight? Well, he's kind of like both, or neither, really. You know? That's...
I don't find anything particularly confusing. I guess because I'm bisexual myself.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of like, I don't find anything particularly confusing about...
Yeah, it's normalized in women. It's not normalized in men.
That's what I'm saying. It's weird that... well, it's like I said, it's just kind of how, like two chicks making out is a lot more normalized than two dudes making out. Like, if you see two women making out, dudes would be like, yeah! You see two dudes and they're like, you know what I mean? They get all fucking uncomfortable about it. But it's just, I don't find it, I don't think it's particularly weird or confusing. It's just that you just have a wider pool of, like, people that you find attractive, that's all. It's just...
Well, if they were to make a movie about that today, they would probably include that.
They would probably include that.
And then people would say, they inserted that shit. But no, that's source material.
That's what I mean. And I think a lot of people nowadays, like, that want to cry about stuff like that.
Yeah.
Are just kind of like, oh, you're just adding that because woke or whatever. But it's like, no, they're just adding... You couldn't put that in a movie.
Back where it was.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't say how it really was. Now you can. And now everyone's getting butthurt about it. But it's just kind of like, no, they're just saying what it was really like. That's all. Like, you couldn't talk about that shit.
Yeah, evidently some of the...
Even in my lifetime.
Yeah.
You couldn't make... If you made a movie about, like, a bisexual and you put that in there, oh my God, everyone would lose their fucking mind.
Yeah, and evidently some of the Italian gangsters were like that by. They were real macho, but, they were Italian, man. The Italians were fucking like the Romans. You know what I mean? The motherfuckers would get hedonistic, evidently. Now, I don't know if fucking Scarface was like that, but some people did say that he had some experiences like that when he was younger, but I don't know. I don't know. I've seen some documentaries on him. What was his name? Not John Gotti. Fucking fuck. Scarface. The original Scarface.
Yeah, I know.
What's his name?
I can't remember what his name is right now.
Yeah. Big Chicago gangster.
Yeah.
Died of fucking syphilis in prison. Well, I think he got out, but he didn't have a good time in prison.
Smugside said, I'm bisexual. I think it's true that there aren't that many bisexual men in movies. I can't think of a single one, honestly. At least any mainstream ones. Yeah, it would be some, like, little indie flick, I'm sure. A lot of times I really only see bisexual women in media. Yeah, I've seen several movies with bisexual women in them. But I can't think of one offhand that had a bisexual man as, like, a main character. Or even, like, a side character.
Yeah, it doesn't play well in the movies. Imagine if Han Solo was shown as being bisexual.
How awesome would that be if, like,
some of the women would probably like it?
If I would like that.
A lot of the
if he was he was kind of in love with Luke, but then also kind of in love with Leia at the same time, and he couldn't decide.
Hey,
that would have been so cool. That would have been like added a whole nother dimension.
You're like, hey kid, me and you would be a great team. You got great hair. Kind of cute for a kid, that kind of, but
See, I would have been all about that. I recognize I'm not the regular run-of-the-mill moviegoer, but I would have been so into that. That would have made him so much hotter. I think that would have made him a lot hotter.
Even as a kid, fucking, when I was back in the 70s, like 77, 78, when that movie came out, the little girls were going to high school, preferred Han Solo over
who
Luke
doesn't?
Skywalker. Yeah, these are eight fucking maybe 10-year-old girls. Oh man, Han Solo.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, they were looking at him
because he was sexy.
Yeah,
Luke wasn't really sexy. He was a little bit. He was cool, but he was like a little bit sheltered. He got like cooler as time went on, but like
when you got more of the dark side, he became a gray Jedi. Yeah,
but like I said, he was a little bit sheltered. He was from like a little place. He was like a small town.
He was an up and coming guy. He hadn't reached his fucking zenith yet, and he was also a religious figure. He's not. He wasn't a.
Yeah, so he didn't,
a scoundrel.
Yeah, so he didn't have that.
Right. Yeah.
That kind of little.
Yeah.
Morally gray kind of thing. Because like I said, I don't think it's. I know that it's kind of a cliche. It's like, oh, women like bad boys and stuff like that. They don't like assholes. Well, some women do, but they've got issues. They just like dudes that aren't super uptight, that are kind of relaxed, that are kind of...
Well, it's just like me. I like bad girls, but she can't be so bad that I can't trust her.
That's what I mean. You don't want somebody who's going to like punch you in the face,
or get you in a bunch of trouble,
or cheat on you, or make you go to prison, or go to jail, or something like that.
Now you might go to prison for each other.
Yeah,
but
somebody that's just like a little bit, like devil may care, kind of, just not really worried about what other people think. I think that's kind of what it is. It's more like a confidence thing. Like they're just their own person and they don't care about what other people think. It's not that much a bad guy. You don't want a fucking criminal. Nobody wants that. Because then they're like, they'd be calling you all the time. It's like, honey, I'm in jail again. You gotta come bail me out.
Yeah, he's talking about Lando in the fucking Solo movie. That actually wasn't a bad movie. That it was just that they had fucked up the franchise so much, but evidently fucking what's his name? Fucking Dave Filoni, is that his name? No,
I don't
know. Who's the dude? No, not Dave Filoni. The dude who did Mandalorian. He's in charge of it now, so he might, and he can make good Star Wars. The first two seasons of Mandalorian that was Star Wars. He did that.
Yeah,
shit
I love
well.
the Mandalorian.
So the Mandalorian movie's coming, and we might get another trilogy. I think there's a way to retcon the last three, having to do with the thing in the Force.
Well, anything can be done.
Yeah, because there's a
if
loophole
you're
there.
Smart enough.
There's a loophole in something having to do with the wills, and in the thing of the Force is that there are parallel universes, and that may have not have been our universe.
That'd be super funny if they.
Yeah,
just,
that there was
like,
another.
That happened in some other little universe that was like.
Well, look what happened, man. Palpatine's daughter wins. Rey was Palpatine's daughter, and there was no backstory for her, and she ends up winning. And fucking Luke becomes a pussy, and Solo gets murdered. He becomes a loser, gets murdered by his own son. And really, and Kylo Ren was the only good fucking character really in the series. And then they wasted that. There was a bunch of cool shit they could have done with Kylo Ren, but they didn't. Because I liked Adam Driver in those movies. I didn't like those movies though.
I like Adam Driver. He's a good actor.
He was the best thing about those movies.
I've seen him in other movies.
But those movies, I didn't like those movies.
But yeah. Yeah, Smugside said the only time they tried doing that, to my knowledge, was with Lando Calrissian in the Solo movie. But thinking about it, wasn't bisexual so much as him screwing a robot. Yeah, which is
he was just open to anything.
Not really the same thing.
He was pansexual.
He was pansexual,
yeah.
Which is not exactly the same thing, but similar. You know what I mean? And then I think bisexual men are a little more common in TV than movies. Hannibal was the first thing I could think of, or some stuff from Ryan Murphy. Oh, and Burley Kev also points out, what about Rocky Horror Picture Show? Isn't Tim Curry's character bi? Yes, you are correct.
Yeah.
He seems equally attracted to both, because he fucks both Brad and Janet.
He's not a real macho guy, though.
But that's okay. You don't have to be. Nobody said that.
Clive Barrow presented as straight.
Yeah.
And saw himself kind of as... I think Clive Barrow actually saw himself as a straight guy. He just happened to be in the threesomes. He be in the threesomes.
Nothing wrong with that.
With the devil's threesomes.
Nothing wrong with that. I don't know, man. People put too many labels on stuff.
Yeah.
You know? Just like what you like. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, you know, as long as everyone's consenting. We know. We know. So let's see. We seem to have wandered far afield from this. But yeah, so the dude drives back to the school and blows his own self up, as well as a bunch of other people, with a fucking dirty bomb, essentially, is what it was. He made his whole car into a dirty bomb with a bunch of shrapnel in it. So the town, gotta say, I mean, as a lot of these small towns, I guess, tended to do, they all kind of pulled together. There was a couple that owned a pharmacy in town, and they, you know, kind of turned their pharmacy, like, into a morgue, you know, because they obviously ran out of room at the actual morgue, like, for all the bodies and stuff. And a bunch of people also started using their cars, like, because they didn't have enough ambulances for all the victims, so people were taking victims in their cars, like, to the hospital and stuff like that. Because, like I said, a lot of people died, but a lot of people were injured as well. So they all go to these different hospitals, mostly in Lansing. And basically, so what happened was, while all the townsfolk and the firefighters and everything like that were digging around in the wreckage, like pulling out bodies and looking for survivors and things like that, they discovered an additional 500 pounds of explosives that had not detonated. And they were just kind of like, what the fuck? So obviously they had to stop the search, because they're like, well, until we get in there and defuse that, because we don't want that going off while all of the rescue people are in here, you know, obviously. So they had to stop the search until they got all of that sorted out. As I mentioned earlier, no one is entirely sure why those 500 pounds of explosives did not go off, because Andrew Kehoe had wired the whole school to explode. He clearly wanted to level it. It was everywhere. And for whatever reason, in the south wing, the 500 pounds of explosives he had put under the floor there did not go off. They don't know if it's because he made a mistake or if it's because the explosion in the north wing had jarred something over there and just fucked it up and it didn't go off.
Probably what happened. One bomb destroyed the
other.
other.
But it didn't go off. But it's just like all the people that were searching, for bodies and like survivors and stuff found all that shit and they were like, holy shit, now we have to stop the search.
Yeah, it's called
until we figure out.
It's called disruption. It's when one explosion disrupts the other bomb. Like they have them daisy chained together type of deal.
Yeah.
It's probably what happened. Had to do with the timing. The timing was wrong.
Because they were all supposed to go off at 9:45 a.m.
At the same time?
They were supposed to go off at the same time. He had them rigged to like alarm clocks.
And one went off a little bit before the other one and broke the circuit.
It might have been, like just a second or two before.
Not even a second. It could be a millisecond.
Like I said, they weren't entirely sure why, but everyone presumes that that's probably why. Everybody thinks that, like I said, he set off all the fire bombs at his own farm an hour before because he thought that would be like a distraction so that the firefighters and stuff wouldn't get to the school in time. But he also, they've speculated, he wanted it to go off at 9:45 because, one, it was the last day of school for that year before summer vacation, so he knew that everybody would be in class by then. So he wanted to do like maximum damage. That's why he chose that time, because he knew everybody would be settled in at that time. So yeah, thankfully, the other 500 pounds of explosives did not go off. And I'm sure it would have been much, much worse if it had. But as it was, only half the building was blown up instead of the whole thing. So after, so they also had the cops going back to the farm after they figured out, after Andrew Kehoe showed up at the scene, it was just like, hey, motherfuckers, and then blew his own car up and blew his own ass up. They were just like, oh, well, probably that dude did the shit. So then they went back out to the farm, and started investigating that firebomb. And then it wasn't until the next day, which was May 19th, that they actually found his wife's body, like out in the wheelbarrow, like behind the thing. Because like I said, beforehand, everyone just thought his house burned down like as an accident. And honestly, they said that they had gone out to the farm on the day of the fire thinking it was an accident, but nobody had noticed her body because it was so charred that it didn't even look like a body. Like it was just this thing that was laying in a wheelbarrow. Mm. Like, so they said a bunch of people walked by it and didn't even notice it. So they found it the next day, and they were able to determine that probably it looked as though she'd been bludgeoned to death with some blunt object. Like her skull was all fucked up or whatever. And pretty much, like I said, he not only rigged the farmhouse, but he also rigged all the outbuildings. And like I said, all the barns and everything, like all of the animals were killed and everything. And this is crazy. Prior to him pulling this fucking stunt, he made a sign. It was this little card. There's pictures of it, like on the internet if you want to see it. And it's just this kind of wooden board. And he had stenciled onto it, "Criminals are made, not born."
Yeah.
And he wired it to the barbed wire fence.
Yeah, I'm a good man. You made me bad.
Yeah. Like I said, I was like, what a whiny little bitch.
I'm telling you, he's an Elliot Rodgers.
Holy crap. Like I said, that is exactly the vibe I was getting. Yeah. Like an incel kind of vibe.
Yeah, yeah.
Not exactly like that, because it wasn't the same reason.
Well, being an incel doesn't make you like that. It's just that he was like that. He became an incel. Elliot Rodgers.
Yeah.
This guy, he wasn't an incel. He was white. He had a wife. It's just that he was like that, and then he started to fail, and he became a family annihilator. And then he says, "Fuck it, I'm going to annihilate all these other families too, because they did this to me." But he's an Elliot Rodgers type personality.
Yeah.
It's all about him. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. He's one of those. You did this to me.
And like I said, this is the kind of mindset that I can't fathom, and I think I probably brought this up when we talked about Elliot Rodger and these kind of like incel killers and stuff. They think they're the center of the universe and everything revolves around them. Nothing just happens. Everything happens at them. You know what I mean? Which, like I said, you have
And it's
to be
a
a
big
real
deal.
fucking narcissist
Yeah.
to think that everything that happens around you for like fucking no reason at all
because
is
of you.
directed,
It's directed
at you.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like Elliot Rodger would say, just like this pretty woman like walked past him and didn't look at him, or
So-
maybe she was laughing about something else or something like that, and she did that at me.
Yeah. Well, it's
Like she didn't even notice you, bro.
yeah, it's some kind of a personality type mental problem, some form like an extreme. Yeah, what do you call it? Solipsism. It's like a extreme solipsism. It's like sociopathy, where, like extreme narcissism.
Yeah.
To the point where it's like embarrassing.
Yeah. You think everything is directed at you, even
right.
shit that has absolutely fuck all to do with you.
And I think it might also kind of like when I look at Rogers, and this kind of goes back to you were saying he's running around in a suit while he's on a tractor, and you said it's OCD. Nah, autism.
I mean, they could be that too.
Autism, yeah. And
although autistic people don't generally become mass murderers.
no, but just look at Elliot Rodgers. That's almost kind of like a form of autism. He's so solipsistic, so self-centered that he's not functioning right. You know what I mean? Some kind of an autism.
Yeah, they're so inside their own head that they don't realize
there's
other people are people.
Yeah.
Like I said, in modern parlance, it would say he thinks everyone else is NPCs.
Yeah.
Like they're just that they don't exist. Like only he exists.
Yeah, he only exists. Only he exists.
Which, like I said,
Only he exists, and some kind of an outward observer who's not an NPC, a godlike observer, and that's who all these fucking messages are to. Like, you know what I mean? Like, well, if everybody's an NPC, then why are you writing letters to NPCs? Why are you making signs to NPCs? Because somebody else is going to see it.
Yeah.
You know, the authorities will see it. What authority are we talking about? Well,
yeah, aren't the authorities NPCs too?
Yeah, the authorities are
Your shit
NPCs
makes
too.
no
aren't
sense,
you?
bro.
So it's like a godlike
It makes no
authority.
Someone
Righteousness.
will fix it.
We'll fix it.
Someone will right this wrong against me.
Yeah,
Because I'm a victim in this
Exactly.
situation.
Exactly. That's the thinking. And which is a childlike thinking. That's the way a child would think.
Yeah.
Like you
and
like
normal people grow out of that.
Yeah, like I kind of would thought like that at, like 5 or 6.
Yeah, like little.
You kind of think that, but that's not the way. You real quickly find out that oh no, that's not the way it is.
Yeah, like other people also have minds and their own desires and feelings.
Yeah,
and
nothing's watching you, and you're not that important.
Yeah, literally nobody cares.
Yeah.
Most people are too worried about their own fucking problems.
Yeah.
They're not looking at you. They're not watching you. Most of the time. Like I said, every now and then there's extreme situations out there. I'm not saying that, but every time I see one of these people, it's like super paranoid and it's like, I'm being gang stalked. I'm being this, that, and the other. I'm like,
it's almost like a regression.
I think you have schizophrenia.
It's almost like there's parts of the mind that's regressing to an earlier age.
Yeah.
Like a childlike age.
Which maybe is kind of comforting in some way, but
because it's
like,
more simple.
Yeah. All of your problems are caused by others.
Yeah.
Like every's against you.
Yeah, so you're not responsible.
You're not responsible for anything.
For what's happened.
Yeah, so it's like a regression back to when you were a kid and you weren't responsible for anything.
Yeah, it's
like
infantilism.
Easier. Yeah, I think that is probably a big factor. You want to go back to a time when your parents just took care of everything.
Yeah,
and you didn't have to worry about shit.
And the authorities will all sort this out.
Yeah, everything will be sorted out. Once everybody sees...
It's an Ed Wood movie. It's an Ed Wood movie. In an Ed Wood movie, the authorities always figure it out.
Once everybody sees how I've been wronged in this situation, everything will be... I will get compensation. Everything will be fine. But like I said, it's definitely...
After my death.
It's definitely a mental illness.
Yeah.
I mean, for real.
No, he's a shitbird. Okay, so how many people killed? How many survived?
There were 45 deaths. Including him.
Yeah.
So let's just say 44. He doesn't count. And 58 injuries.
Okay. And that was... And how many people came out of it unscathed?
I'm not sure.
Because there might have been some in there that also were unscathed.
Yeah, some... a lot of people were... I mean, obviously, all of them were traumatized. And a lot of them were injured. But there were a lot of survivors, though.
And we're talking about children, most of them.
Almost all of them were children. I believe 38 or 39 of them were children.
And
out of the 45.
What ages are we talking about?
About 7 to about 12.
Okay.
About that age.
Yeah. What a shitbird.
A couple teachers also died. The school superintendent died. I think the postmaster of town also died.
Mostly died from probably being crushed, huh? From debris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was because like I said, the building, half of the building collapsed.
Yeah.
So a lot of them had to be dug out of the rubble. And some of them were still alive.
And then the poor 8-year-old girl standing out there thinking that it's over. And
she got out, and then she got hit by the car bomb.
Yeah.
That he set off like half an hour later.
On what she got hit by and where?
I don't know. But she was just out
there. It must have been a headshot.
She got out of the school.
Yeah.
And she apparently was uninjured because she ran out of the school. I think she got out of a window or something like that, if I remember correctly. And she was kind of out there sitting, or she was like hiding behind a tree or something like that.
Killed by a car bomb.
And then Andrew Kehoe came up, and half an hour after the bomb went off, and set the car bomb off, and she got killed. Her name was Cleo.
Yeah, and she thought it was over.
Which to me, that was so fucking sad.
Yeah.
I was just kind of like, she was just kind of like, woo, got out of there, but then...
Yeah.
Then that fucking happened.
Yeah, she should have run all the way home. But I'd be like, run home, girl. You run home.
Yeah, get as far away from there as possible. Holy crap.
Damn.
Like, that's fucking horrible. And like I said, she was fucking 8.
Yeah, horrible. So what happened in the aftermath?
So the thing about it, after this, weirdly, even though this was unprecedented, like I said, this had really never happened before, at least not to this magnitude. And so you'd think that something would happen, and that it's like some kind of law would be passed or something like that, but nothing really happened much. They did end up taking pyrotol off the market, but they didn't make a big deal about it. They just kind of were like, yeah, we're gonna just slowly phase that out and like not really sell that anymore, like as freely as they used to. So they did do that, but that was about all that happened. In the days following, like I said, the town and all the surrounding towns really rallied together. They raised a whole bunch of money. They did a memorial, which is still there. They built a museum, which is still there. And they also built a new school. So they got all of that going. Now, interestingly, I thought this was kind of funny and also kind of fitting. So Andrew Kehoe, he had a sister, and she eventually did come and claim his body. And I heard that she tried to bury him in the town, and they're like, fuck no, you're not burying that motherfucker in here.
Yeah.
And she went to the next town, and they had heard about it, and they're like, fuck no, you're not burying him here either. She ended up having to put him in like this fucking like pauper's grave, like essentially a ditch.
Yeah.
Where no one else would be buried.
Yeah.
Because nobody else would have him.
Right. Don't blame him.
And his wife was buried under her maiden name.
Right, yeah.
Again.
They divorced her.
Can't really blame her.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure that's probably what she would have wanted if she'd known, you know what I mean? So you can see her grave. It says Ellen Price on it. It doesn't say Kehoe.
He could have just sent his ass to the dump.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll put you in a dump.
Yeah, they should have just like fucking thrown him in a fucking in the garbage.
Yeah.
To be honest. But yeah, so I was gonna say, so there were 45 deaths. I will note that one of the deaths was a 4th grader who didn't die until later. Like, she was injured in the blast, and she was getting hip surgery 3 months after, and she died during the surgery. So they count her as the 45th death. So amazingly, they got school going back. They didn't obviously rebuild the building that quick, but they did get school going back again, like in the fall. Because like I said, when he did the bomb, it was the last day of school before summer vacation. So they just kind of had different buildings in town that would host it until they raised enough money to rebuild the school building. So yeah. They actually ended up calling it the James Couzens Agricultural School because James Couzens, I think he was the mayor or something like that at the time, and he donated like a huge amount of money to help them finish the school off. So they rebuilt it. This building was actually stood until 1975 when it was demolished, And they actually put a park there with a memorial to the victims, which, like I said, is still there to this day. It's actually just a nice little stone with all their names on it. And they also have the cupola of the original building, which is pretty much all that was salvaged from the original building. That's kind of in the middle of the park. So there's that. This was kind of interesting, too. The last living survivor of this massacre, whose name was Irene Dunham, she only just died in 2022, and she was 114 years old.
She lived a long time.
And I don't think, please correct me if I'm wrong.
She's one of the longest living.
But I don't think she was actually at the school. I think she was actually supposed to graduate. She was a little bit older. She was one of the older students.
Yeah.
And I think she was sick, and she didn't go. And then the school blew up, and she's like, oh, probably like best time to get sick. Yeah, she lived till she was 114 years old.
That's one of the oldest people I've heard of. I've heard of 119.
That's way, way, way out on the end of the bell curve. Yeah. Way on the end of the bell curve.
Yeah.
That's top end. You don't only like 0.000001 people like live that long. But yeah, she did.
Yeah, and I think the guy that lived to 119, he was a guy. I think he was a Civil War veteran. Died sometime in the 70s.
That's crazy.
Yeah, late 70s, I think.
But yeah, it's crazy to me that she lived. Like I said, I don't know. I don't think she was at the school that day. She was supposed to be there. But I think she got sick and didn't go, or was going to go later or something like that. But they consider her like the last living survivor, and she only just died like a couple years ago, and she like lived a really long time. So yeah, I don't really, like I said, I think the reason that this has largely been forgotten is because, as I mentioned earlier, a couple days after this happened, Charles Lindbergh did the transatlantic flight, and that was like a big, huge deal, and that was all over the national media. And so I kind of feel like this, which was, essentially a local story at the time, or a regional story, I guess, it sort of just got buried by bigger national historical events, and eventually people just forgot about it. And like I said, because of the survivors didn't really want to talk about it to any great degree in the years following, it seems like it doesn't really get talked about much. Like I said, there is a museum there. There is a memorial park there, still with all the people's names on it. But I feel like this is something that is really only known about by people that live in the area. Because I saw a couple comments and people said they grew up in that area and they learned about it in school. But I kind of feel like most people have not. I had never heard of it until recently. Even though body count wise, it's the highest, the deadliest, school massacre. Even though it wasn't a shooting, but it was still a school massacre. Yeah. It was just he did it with bombs instead of guns. But same kind of deal. And like I said, almost all kids.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole gun thing here in the U.S., that's kind of a political thing, so they'll really pump that up. And they're easy to get here in the U.S. But if you actually look at the numbers, when it comes to what weapon seems to be the most effective in a mass incident, I remember fucking seeing that trucks, actually, their numbers were rivaling that of assault rifles or beating them. I remember there was a kind of an alert that came out in the anti-terror scene that some of the terrorist organizations were telling their operatives here in the United States to not focus on guns. Because they weren't really having a good success with them. They were getting shot before they were able to fucking kill a significant amount of people. And they were saying, don't worry about assault rifles, go for trucks. And just run them into crowds. Because they were having a higher success rate with that. People that don't make a living with a gun don't understand that assault rifles and pistols and small arms are a specialized weapon. You really, to really know how to use that, you need to have a lot of experience, a lot of training to get the most out of something like that. And when you look at what's happening in some of these mass shootings, they get a pretty good number, but they just do it all wrong and I'm not going to tell you how to do it, okay? But had the weapons that they're using, like assault rifles and pistols, had they been deployed properly, they would have gotten a lot more. It's just that they don't know how to deploy. They tend to get right up on it, right up and close and personal, you know, almost touching distance, because they're not very good marksmen, and they're emotional. It's an emotional based attack, so they're not really cold and calculating, you know. What was his name? The Malvo guys, where they, you know, the dude's driving, he had the little kid in the trunk with the sniping people. Things like that over time went out over just jumping up into a crowd of people at close range and just hammering away at them. Because you got to reload. And, you know, that crowd of people is going to be desperate. As soon as you go to reload, they're going to fucking swarm you. Because they have no choice. They're going to get shot if they don't. You know. And you're panicking at a crowd of people at close range. And you're not giving them any choice. They have to engage you because they're going to get shot if they don't. So that's not a good weapon. Look at what was done with jets. Look what's done with trucks. Infrastructure attacks. All that shit's a lot more effective. Like I said, these dudes that do this are all nuts. It's always emotion based, and it's usually political or emotional, you know. So they don't really care about the numbers. It's just a message. Look at me, look at me. Yeah. I'm in charge, not you. It's childish shit, really.
Yeah, because it always mystifies me, like, how exactly do you think normal people are going to react to what you're doing? Did?
Yeah.
Like, you literally blew up your own house, you killed your wife, you blew up a school, and killed a bunch of other people's kids, like half the fucking kids in town.
Yeah.
And you think that somehow that's going to make people go, oh man, we really did wrong this guy. Maybe we should do something about that.
Yeah, that's what he's thinking. That's what he's thinking, though.
No normal person on Earth is going to think that. They're just going to think you're a fucking monster, and they're right.
Yeah.
So I don't really, I don't understand, like, where you have to be fucking delusional to have that fucking mindset in the first place.
Pretty much all those attacks, including the terrorist-motivated attacks, tend to backfire.
Yeah.
They don't work. It just makes it makes you look weak, and it makes people hate you.
Yeah.
So
it doesn't draw attention to your cause or whatever. It just makes everyone think you're a fucking murderous asshole.
For your cause to win, you have to capture hearts and minds. You have to make friends. Yeah, it's politics. That's really how you do it. Direct action, very limited to what you can do with that. But you're not going to win any hearts and minds by doing that.
No.
So
yeah, you're just going to make everybody hate you even more.
Right. And when you're talking about fucking religious terrorism, all right, blowing people up is not going to make people convert to Islam. It ain't. It'll never work. Quite the opposite. But you're not dealing with the fucking sharpest tacks, you know. They're only seeing it from their point of view, and their point of view is very limited.
Honestly, any point of view that has to be enforced,
is a point of view
through pain of death.
Yeah, it's a point of weakness.
That's not a great point of view to be having.
Nah,
in my opinion.
No, no, that's actually a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
If you have a strong organization, people will be clamoring to join it.
Yeah. Yeah. If you got to force people to do it, it's like, oh, we're going to blow you up.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, no thanks.
Right.
That's just making, well, now I really don't want to join it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and like, now we hate you even more.
Yep.
So good job.
It doesn't work.
Good job. So, like I said, just on a smaller scale, dudes like this kind of mindset, because like I said, this is a type. There are other killers that are like this. A lot of mass shooters have this similar mindset. Any of these kind of dudes that, like you said, family annihilators, or, I I have some grievance about something, I'm going to take myself out, but I'm going to take all these other people out with me just to show the world.
Yeah.
Send a message or whatever.
A sanctimonious motherfucker.
Yeah, and it's just kind of, and I'm always wondering about, it's like, do you really think that anyone is going to, like, sympathize with you? Or, like, how fucking out there do you have to be to think anyone is going to think that that's a good thing? Or is going to feel bad for you
well, it's
for doing what you did?
1927, rigid thinking, very superficial. He's very much in his own world. No access to mass media that didn't really exist then. No internet. So very much solipsism.
Yeah.
He sees himself as at the center of the world. He's probably very isolated socially and mentally in his own mind. Even though he's married, his wife is just an extension of him. He's not really into her that much. It's just he's gonna be like a Elliot Rodgers. He's gonna be like that, almost autistic, like autistic.
Because me, I'm just kind of like, yeah, look, it sucks they put your taxes up and maybe you can't afford it and shit like that, but it's for a school. They're educating everybody. That's kind of good for everybody. Even if you don't have any kids, it's just good for people to be educated. And it's just kind of like, why don't you just pay your taxes like everyone else is doing and quit fucking crying about it?
Yeah, why don't you adapt and learn how to make some more money with your fucking...
Yeah, and why don't you actually farm instead of just farting around?
Yeah, right.
Like with
why don't you tell other people you're having problems fucking making it, maybe we need to get a business together.
Anything. There were a million other options.
Right, yeah. Sell off some of your land.
Yeah. Sell some of your shit.
Yeah, you gotta
sell some of your horses.
You almost got 200 acres, man. Fucking sell off.
Just portion
3/4 of that shit.
Like I said, there was a million options.
Yeah.
And the fact that he just went right to, I'm gonna take half the town out and kill my wife and kill myself, just shows how fucking out of it he fucking was. Because why would you do that? Like most normal people be like, yeah, that sucks, but you got to find a way to fucking fix it.
In another era, he would have been the same way, doing some other shit, probably.
Yeah, this is the same exact type of dude that would have done this kind of crap.
Yeah.
Nowadays, like I said, it's always somebody else's fault. Yeah. They can't. Yeah. This is what we said before. It's just kind of like, the best thing for humans to be. You don't have to be the strongest. You don't even have to be the smartest. Smart helps. You just have to be
most adaptable,
flexible, and adaptable. Most adaptable. You just got to roll with shit.
Yep.
That's really the best attribute to have.
Right. That's the thing right now. They're complaining that fucking we're now living in a world of the law of the jungle. But the law of the jungle isn't that the strongest survive. It's the most fit survive, and the most fit is always the most adaptable. I think people get it wrong.
Yeah, they assume that it's just the biggest and the strongest. No, that's not always the case.
Most adaptable.
Yeah, it's whoever can roll with whatever fucking changes come.
Big ass strong dinosaurs didn't make it. They couldn't adapt.
Nope.
Okay. The little mammals, little rats, they adapted and eventually became us.
Yeah.
And other mammals.
And here we are.
Yeah. And here we are. We won out. Humans are winning out.
I mean,
over monkeys and apes.
The asteroid helped.
Yeah.
I will say.
Yeah, but that kind of helped reset certain things. But the thing is, the dinosaurs weren't killed in one day. No. They were still around for another million years.
Yeah, it took a long time.
But all you gotta do is look at our closest relatives, apes and monkeys. We beat them hands down. Even though gorillas are stronger than us, they can't adapt. A gorilla can't make a car,
and they're just chill.
Yeah, a gorilla can't make a power plant, or a computer, or a car. I can't either. Okay, it doesn't mean I'm a gorilla. It's just that men made AI computers that can design them better and better. You know what I mean? It started the whole thing. But. An ape a gorilla can only kind of imagine a little bit what a computer does. And, we're just more adaptable than the other hominids.
And that's why we
proliferated. Yeah.
Not because we were bigger. And obviously, humans, as animals go, are pretty puny.
Yep.
We don't have any hair. We don't have any claws. We don't have fangs.
Yeah.
We're not big.
And this shit is the same with all...
We're pretty lame.
Humans.
We can't fly.
Groups, nations... organizations, fucking institutions, if they cannot adapt, they don't make it. That's why all the Roman institutions are gone. Church of Jupiter's gone. The statue of Jupiter down at the main temple, gone. Fuck, you know what I
should
mean?
start that back up again.
Yeah, I should start it. It should be me up there. I'll
Yeah, there you go.
Shit like that with a beard and everything.
You
But
prob-
no, that's
you
all
could-
the shit's
you
gone.
could probably get some followers.
If you told an ancient Roman that statue of Jupiter wouldn't be there, fucking 500 years from now, they would have blown their mind. But that's God. Shit changed.
Not anymore, it ain't.
Not anymore. Ain't. Not God anymore.
Not anymore, it ain't.
Yep. So guess what? Know what tonight is?
Fallout.
Fallout night.
It's Fallout night.
Fallout's gonna be playing. We gotta see the new episode of Fallout.
Oh, we gotta see new one.
Yep.
We gotta see new Fallout.
So what's on for next week? You know?
What do you mean?
Show. Do we have a show?
No,
tonight?
because I do the poll over the weekend.
Okay.
So I never know what the topic is gonna be until I put 4 choices up and people vote on it, and then I know what the topic is on the Sunday before the show.
All right.
So that's what. And I don't even remember what I put in the poll because I do them like a week or 2 ahead.
Okay.
So I don't know what the next
Go
show
ahead and
is
shut
gonna
this
be.
shit down now.
But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this show about this fucking crazy ass fucking story that I didn't know about and needs more fucking traction, I feel, because holy crap. But yeah, so thank you everybody for hanging out with us this evening. And hopefully you guys have a good rest of your evening. Have a good day tomorrow. We will be back on Friday for our regular sidetrack show, on which we will just drink and talk about whatever we feel like talking about because there's no specific topic. So those are always fun, and hopefully you guys can join us for that. And yeah, thank you very much for being here. We will see you guys again on Friday night. Good night.